Phoenix Nights. Chapter 1039. Swish! There was a flash of light in the sky, and Bibi and Lin Feng appeared. "Big brother, are you all right?" Bibi blinked her big bright eyes and asked in a childish voice. "Haha, I'm fine. You've finally hatched, but the classic of mountains and seas, a record of divine beasts, doesn't seem to have a divine beast like you." Lin Feng looked at Bibi suspiciously. It had a snow-white body, a pair of big bright eyes, and a charmingly naive appearance. It was really lovable. No matter how one looked at it, it looked like a cute and harmless little guy. However, this little guy had an unimaginably terrifying ability. It was enough to move people. However, the little guy's origin was too shocking. Lin Feng had thought that he would be able to find out what kind of race it was after it hatched, but now that it had hatched, he still had no clue. "What's the classic of mountains and seas?" Bibi asked innocently. "It's a book," Lin Feng said. Bibi drooled and asked, "Can I eat it?" She was really a foodie. Lin Feng rubbed Bibi's head and said, "Books are for reading, not eating. Bibi doesn't like books, but Bibi likes fruits." The little guy waved his claws. In an instant, 2 30,000-year-old serpent spirit fruits were taken out by the little guy. Lin Feng had obtained them when he was training on a foreign planet. Crunch, crunch! Bei began to chew on the food with great relish. "Eat slowly, no one is going to steal them from you," said Lin Feng while smiling. He didn't stay for long, he quickly left to find a place to recover. 100 miles away, in a carriage, a 5 or 6-year-old girl was lying in the arms of an old woman. The little girl looked like she was carved from jade. She was very cute. However, her face was extremely pale and her body was trembling. The old woman held the little girl in her arms. Even the old woman's body was constantly freezing. The old woman coughed from time to time. The cold she invaded her body, causing her to suffer serious injuries. The old woman coughed up blood. The little girl seemed to have been awakened by the old woman's cough. She looked at the old woman's pale face and struggled. "It's all Little Moon's fault. If it weren't for Little Moon, Granny wouldn't be coughing." The little girl blamed herself. Although she was young, she was already very sensible. The old woman tightly hugged Little Moon and smiled as she said, "Granny is fine, Little Moon, don't worry about Granny. Grandma's body is cold. Grandma, quickly put Little Moon down," the little girl said. "Grandma loves to hug Little Moon like this," the old woman said kindly. "But Little Moon doesn't want to see Grandma suffer. Little Moon doesn't want to see Grandma cough. Little Moon is very sad. Little Moon has implicated Grandma." The little girl constantly blamed herself. From time to time, pearl-like tears fell from her big watery eyes. "Silly child, don't blame yourself. When we reach the Heaven Vein Fire Valley, Little Moon will be better." The old woman lovingly stroked the little girl's head. Little Moon also looked expectant. "Little Moon will definitely be better. Little Moon must be filial to Granny in the future. Good child." When the old woman heard Little Moon's considerate words, tears flashed in her old eyes. She hugged Little Moon tightly in her arms. 2 hours later, a voice came from outside. "Granny, we've arrived at the Heaven Vein Fire Valley." The Heaven Vein Fire Valley was a very famous place in the primitive forests of the southern continent. The Heaven Vein Fire Valley was connected to the underground world of fire, so the flames covered the entire valley. The flames here were extremely dangerous. Many of the flames could even melt Dao weapons. Only a few fearless alchemists would enter the Heaven Vein Fire Valley to find powerful flames to refine. Normally, no one would come to the Heaven Vein Fire Valley. Today Granny brought Little Moon to the Heaven Vein Fire Valley to suppress Little Moon's Earthine Cold Meridian. The Earthine Cold Meridian was also a kind of constitution. However, this kind of constitution was very strange. The body would be extremely cold. Even the blood would be frozen. It was said that people who had the Earthine Cold Meridian couldn't live past 5 years old. Little Moon had been tortured by the Earthine Cold Meridian since she was young. However, she had always been very optimistic. Perhaps it was because she had experienced too much pain and torture since she was young, so even though she was very young, Little Moon was very sensible. Of course, the Creator created the earthine cold meridian. Naturally, it wasn't to destroy everyone who had the earthine cold meridian. In the long years, there were always a few lucky people who successfully suppressed the cold energy of the earthine cold meridian and gradually mastered it. Although such people were very rare, there were still 4 or 5 people who had the earthine cold meridian who survived in the billions of years since the ancient times. The most powerful of them was a person called the Earthine Holy Emperor. It was said that he relied on the earthine cold meridian and his battle strength was unparalleled. Even the possessors of the top 10 ancient bloodlines didn't want to be enemies with him. It could be seen how terrifying the earthine cold meridian was. However, the survival rate of this kind of constitution was too low. Perhaps it was because of this that the earthine cold meridian couldn't prove its greatness, and couldn't leave a glorious chapter in history. Granny held Little Moon's hand and walked towards the Heaven Vein Fire Valley. Granny, stop here and wait for Little Moon. Little Moon will definitely get better. Little Moon tried to smile. Then she ran towards the Heaven Vein Fire Valley. The old woman shed tears. Little Moon was too sensible, but fate was full of ups and downs. Now Little Moon was almost 5 years old. If she couldn't solve the problem of the earthine cold meridian, only death would await her. The old woman knew that even the Heaven Vein Fire Valley could only temporarily suppress the earthine cold meridian in Little Moon's body. It couldn't truly solve the crisis Little Moon was facing. Little Moon entered the Fire Valley and her body took the initiative to devour all kinds of flames in the Fire Valley. The power of the earthine cold meridian collided with the flames. Little Moon's body fell to the ground and convulsed violently. She covered her mouth and tried not to make a sound. She was afraid that her granny would be worried and sad if she heard. The two forces clashed again and again, making Little Moon suffer a fate worse than death. Little Moon will definitely be able to persevere. Little Moon will definitely survive. Little Moon's young face was filled with determination that didn't match her age. However, the stubborn look on her face as she endured the pain and didn't allow herself to make a sound was truly heartbreaking. 15 kilometers away, a group of black-robed men looked in the direction of the Heaven Vein Fire Valley. "Is that little girl the descendant of Emperor Taiching of the Yao race?" asked a masked cultivator with his hands clasped behind his back. "That's right. She's the only descendant of Emperor Taiching," said a black-robed man. Chapter 1040. In the cave, Lin Feng sat cross-legged. He first used his immortal divine body to heal his injuries, then refined a jade leaf stone to recover his magic power. Finally, he took out some jerky and spirit fruits and ate them to recover his strength. Crunch, crunch! Bibi also hugged a spirit fruit and gnawed on it. Its little belly was round. It had eaten 10 precious 30,000-year-old spirit fruits in a short amount of time. Lin Feng didn't feel bad. So what if the spirit fruits were precious? They were meant to be used, and since Bibi liked to eat them, they had a use for them. After Lin Feng recovered, he looked at Bibi, who was rolling on the ground. "Little guy, come here." Lin Feng waved at Bibi. Bibi clumsily got up from the ground and squeaked a few times before jumping into Lin Feng's palm. Because it had just hatched, Bibi's body was still very small. Lin Feng asked, "Little guy, what race are you?" Bibi put on a thoughtful expression. Its big round eyes looked around a few times, then it asked in a childish voice, "What is race? Can it be eaten?" Lin Feng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This little guy really couldn't stop talking about food. It was practically the reincarnation of a glutton. It was obviously not realistic to want to know Bibi's race from it. At the very least, it was impossible for him to know at this stage. Perhaps as Bibi grew up, the memories of its race would be awakened in its bloodline. At that time, he would be able to know its race. "Big brother, Bibi is sleepy." The little guy lay in Lin Feng's hand and soon fell asleep. Bibi was still a cub, after all. Cubs tended to be more sleepy because they had just been born. In fact, it wasn't just cubs who were sleepy, even human babies were sleepy. They spent most of their time sleeping every day. After Bibi fell asleep, Lin Feng put it back into the beast's slave bag. Lin Feng continued to adjust his condition while thinking about how to leave the South Continent. Now that he was wanted by the Heavenly Gate, he probably couldn't use the transportation formations of the various factions. If he wanted to set up a transportation formation himself, he didn't have enough materials. However, if he flew, it would take too much time. Lin Feng felt that it was quite troublesome to leave the South Continent. Many of the raging flames in the Heaven Vein Fire Valley were absorbed by Little Moon's body. Little Moon's originally ice-cold body finally returned to normal. She dragged her tired body out, and finally walked out of the Heaven Vein Fire Valley. "Grandma, little Yu-Yu! Yu-Yu! Yu-Yu-Yu!" The old woman ran over and hugged the filthy Little Moon in her arms, tears streaming down her face. "Yu-Yu-Yu-Yu-Yu-Yu-Yu-Yu." However, the child did not make a single sound. Enduring such great pain, Yu-Yu-Yu-Yu, a little Yu-Yu was too sensible. But why didn't the heavens let such a sensible child live longer? Yu-Yu wanted to curse the heavens. Why didn't good people live long while bad people lived freely? "Grandma, don't cry. Little Yu-Yu is fine. Little Yu-Yu won't make you worry anymore." Little Yu-Yu smiled innocently. Her smile was so pure that it made one's heart ache. Yu-Yu was sad because she didn't know how long little Yu-Yu could last. 3 months? 1 month? Or maybe only half a month? "Grandma is happy. Good child, we can't stay here for long. Let's go." She held little Yu-Yu's hand and boarded the carriage. The carriage quickly left under the escort of more than 50 monstrous cultivators. However, not long after he left, a dense crowd of figures came from afar, surrounding the place so tightly that not even a drop of water could pass through. "Who are you?" an elder of the demon race shouted in a deep voice. "Ha! The descendant of the monstrous Tai Ching Emperor came to the South Continent and left without saying goodbye. Do you think the humans of the South Continent have no one?" said the masked cultivator with a smile. "The humans of the South Continent! Are you from the Upper Heavenly Gate?" The monstrous elder's expression changed. "Upper Heavenly Gate? We never said we were from the Upper Heavenly Gate," replied the masked cultivator indifferently. Boom! A terrifying aura spread out from the left. Another group of experts appeared. Then, another group of experts appeared from the right. Soon, more experts appeared from the rear. Experts appeared from all 4 directions. "1 clan, 3 palaces." The monstrous elder's expression turned grave. "The Tai Ching Emperor's clan has no enmity with your 1 clan, 3 palaces, right? Why are you stopping us?" Yu-Yu's voice came from the carriage. "Those who are not of our clan will be killed," said one of the experts with a cold smile. "In the ancient times, the gods fought and the Tianwu continent was affected. Our ancestor, the Tai Ching Emperor, protected the continent. Our emperor was severely injured in order to protect the continent, and died prematurely. Even if you are not grateful for our ancestors' kindness, we will not say anything. But now, you want to kill the only descendant of the Tai Ching Emperor? Do you have a conscience?" said the old woman angrily. "What's the point of bringing up the past now? Besides, who knows if what happened in the ancient times is true? Maybe it's just a story made up by your clan. Everyone, what are you waiting for? Kill these people and capture the descendant of the Tai Ching Emperor," said the masked cultivator with a cold smile. "Kill them!" Immediately after that, a sky-shaking battle cry rang out as a dense swarm of experts charged towards the Yao clan cultivators. "Escort grandmother and the little princess away!" shouted one of the monstrous cultivators. Boom! The 2 sides immediately engaged in a fierce battle. The monstrous cultivators were too few. The 1 clan, 3 palaces had dozens of times more experts than the monstrous cultivators. Pooh! Pooh! Many monstrous cultivators were beheaded or had their bodies torn apart. They died on the spot, their corpses falling to the ground. The old woman rushed out of the carriage with Little Moon in her arms. Under the escort of dozens of experts, she tried to break out of the encirclement. "Kill! They chose a direction to break out of the encirclement. A few monstrous cultivators led the way, but there were too many experts from the one clan, 3 palaces. "Little princess, you have to live!" A few of the monstrous cultivators shouted in grief. They rushed forward dauntlessly. Bang! 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 The bodies of the monstrous cultivators exploded. They had chosen to die in the most tragic way possible, creating a gap in the encirclement. Whoa! Seeing so many of her loved ones die, Little Moon wept in grief. "Go!" The old woman rushed out of the encirclement with Little Moon in her arms. However, what made them despair was that in the distant mountains, there were figures flickering. A dense crowd of black-robed cultivators appeared. This place had long been surrounded, and the opening created by the self-detonation of several demon clan elders was only the first opening. "It's useless. We've already set up an inescapable net to kill you," said the masked cultivator with a cold smile. "Kill them!" The deafening battle cries resounded through the clouds. Densely packed experts surrounded and attacked the monster clan cultivators. Pooh! Pooh! Monstrous cultivators were killed one after another. Blood splattered everywhere, dyeing the sky red. Chapter 1041. What powerful undulations! What's going on? Is there a huge battle? Lin Feng, who was meditating in the cave, opened his eyes. He was astonished. He quickly walked out of the cave and arrived outside. Then, he looked into the distance. Although he couldn't see anything, he could sense the powerful undulations in the air. When cultivators fought, the shockwaves could spread hundreds of li away, not to mention that Lin Feng was only 100 li away from where the battle was taking place. Therefore, it wasn't surprising that he could sense the undulations from the battle in the distance. A battle between cultivators? Or between cultivators and fierce beasts in the forest? Lin Feng was puzzled. Such powerful undulations meant that the battle was no small matter. He quickly flew in the direction of the battle to see what was going on. "Be careful! Don't kill the descendant of Emperor Tai Ching!" shouted the leader of the one school in 3 prefectures when he saw that some experts had almost killed Little Moon. They wanted to refine divine pills. They needed the blood of living people, not the blood of dead people. The difference between the blood of the dead and the blood of the living was too great. "Yes," replied the cultivators surrounding the old woman. They held back a lot when they attacked. The Yao had very few people to begin with. When they were surrounded by the one school in 3 prefectures, many of their experts had been killed by the 4 great powers. Now, there were only about 20 of them left. The one school in 3 prefectures still had thousands of people left. They had made ample preparations. The one school and 3 prefectures of Nanzhou had always been suspicious of each other. However, when there was a common interest, the one school and 3 prefectures could unite. For example, today, the experts of the one school and 3 prefectures had joined forces to kill the Yao and capture the descendant of Emperor Tai Ching. Those who didn't know about their secret struggles would think that the 4 great powers were working together as allies. A dozen cultivators stood on top of a mountain a dozen miles away. They were all looking at the battle. The leader of the group was a young man. The young man was dressed in white. He was tall and slender, and his eyes shone like stars. He was extremely handsome. His body was clearly standing there, but it gave people a fleeting feeling. Gongsun Wushu was the son of Gongsun Xian, the sect master of the Heaven Gate. He was one of the supreme geniuses of the 3,000 continents of the Tianwu continent. His cultivation had reached the transcendent realm. He was definitely an existence that could fight against a cultivator at Huangfu Qingtian's level. "Prince, it seems like you don't need to do anything to deal with these beasts," a cultivator cautiously asked. Gongsun Wushu said slowly, "This battle won't end so quickly." His deep eyes looked at the great battle in the distance. No one knew what Gongsun Wushu was thinking at the moment. Poof! Pooh! More and more Yao cultivators were killed. Blood splattered everywhere as their corpses fell to the ground. Soon, there were only a dozen Yao cultivators left. It wouldn't be long before these demons were all killed. "Grandma, Please take the little princess away. She's the only descendant of the great emperor. One after another, the Yao cultivators roared and charged forward. They chose to self-detonate and die tragically, blasting open a path of blood through the dense encirclement. After a Yao cultivator self-detonated, a second Yao cultivator would rush forward and self-detonate as well. This scene was too tragic and stirring. Whoa! Little Moon cried bitterly. She saw her family members die so tragically. It was a huge blow to her young heart. The old woman looked sad, but she didn't stop them. She knew that if she wanted to save the little princess, she had to sacrifice herself. Even if she had to sacrifice herself, she wouldn't hesitate. Crazy. These Yao cultivators are all crazy, shouted the cultivators of the one family and 3 prefectures in horror. They had never seen such crazy people who didn't cherish their lives. Perhaps these people didn't understand what it meant to protect. In this world, there were some things and some people that needed to be protected with one's life. In the eyes of these demon race cultivators, Little Moon was someone who was worth protecting with their lives. Bang, 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 more than a dozen Yao cultivators self-detonated one after another. The old woman carried the little princess and rushed towards the northwest through the gap that a dozen or so demon cultivators had torn open with great difficulty at the cost of their self-detonation. Do it. However, the old woman couldn't leave with the little princess because there was another force. It was the experts by Gong Sun Wishu's side. They had been watching the battle and hadn't made a move. Now, it was time for them to make a move. As soon as Gong Sun Wishu's voice fell, hundreds of cultivators rushed out and attacked the old woman. The cultivators behind them also caught up. This place could be described as an inescapable net. It was truly despairing. Heavenly Law Embodiment Technique. The old woman shouted, and her body began to grow. Soon, the old woman's body turned into a 1,000-meter-tall giant. The old woman held Little Moon in her left hand and slapped the cultivators surrounding her with her right hand. Many cultivators were killed by the old woman's slap. The old woman, who had transformed into the Heavenly Law Embodiment Technique, had greatly increased her battle strength. She forced a bloody path out of the encirclement. Humph! Gong Sun Wishu, who was standing on a mountain peak in the distance, had a cold expression on his face. Whoosh! Light flashed in his hand. A war spear appeared. The war spear was pitch black, and it flickered with a cold and bloodthirsty aura. Gong Sun Wishu directly threw the war spear. The war spear pierced through the void. Pooh! In the next moment, the war spear pierced the old woman's heart. The old woman, who was running wildly, was on the verge of collapse. She lowered her head and looked at the bloody hole in her chest with a sorrowful expression. My death is not regrettable, but what about the little princess? Great Emperor, you protected the Tianwu continent in the past. Now your descendant is going to be captured by these people to be refined into medicine. Was everything you did in the past worth it? The old woman cried bitterly, and her huge body fell to the ground with a loud bang. The old woman's magic power dissipated, and her body returned to its original state. Little Moon knelt beside the old woman and cried in pain and despair. Grandma, what's wrong? Don't leave Little Moon behind! Rumble! In the void, a large hand condensed and grabbed Little Moon. This was the energy hand that Gong Sun Wishu had condensed. Bang! A figure walked over from afar and shattered the giant hand of energy. The old woman raised her head with difficulty and looked at the young cultivator who had appeared with pleading eyes. I beg you to take her to the Great Rock, King of the Great Pun, King of the Great Kindness. I will repay in the next life. Don't worry, I will protect her. Lin Feng picked up Little Moon and quickly rushed into the distance. Brat, you're courting death! The experts of the one clan and 3 prefectures roared angrily. The old woman struggled to get up, and her body began to swell. In an instant, it exploded, and destructive energy surged out, swallowing a large part of the forest and many cultivators who had chased after her. Blood rained down. The old woman's blood dyed the ground red. With endless sorrow, the old woman's life passed away. Chapter 1042. Little Moon was tired from crying, and she fell asleep in Lin Feng's arms. She was a descendant of Emperor Tai Ching, and she had sovereign blood. It was no wonder that the cultivators of the one sect, 3 prefectures, wanted to capture her. Sovereign blood was far more effective than divine essence. Fusing sovereign blood into a pill could raise it to the level of a divine pill. Even though Lin Feng didn't know why the 3 governments wanted to capture Xiao Yu, he could guess what was going on. The methods of the one sect, 3 prefectures, were truly shameless. Emperor Tai Ching had done the martial heaven continent a great favor in the past. Capturing a 4 or 5-year-old girl to refine her blood into a pill was a violation of humanity. The sacred emperor said, "Man is born good." It was just that with the passage of time, who knew where the conscience of these people from the major factions had long been lost. In their eyes, there was no such thing as good. For the sake of their own benefits, they would do anything. The one sect, 3 prefectures. I thought that the 3 prefectures were much kinder than the heavenly gate, but it seems I was too naive. How could they have any conscience? Their conscience must have been eaten by a dog, thought Lin Feng angrily, but then he sighed. He had no choice but to sigh. That kind of powerful and influential group was unscrupulous in their actions. Where is the great Ping King's ancestral land? Lin Feng was a bit worried. The great Ping King was a peerless genius, and he had survived for 300 years. Lin Feng and the great Ping King knew each other, and they had once fought over fossils. Later, when they had left, Lin Feng and the great Ping King's nephew, Jin Xingyuan, had entered the swamp of death together. They had gone through many hardships, and the 2 of them had formed a deep friendship. However, Lin Feng had never been to the southern continent before, so he didn't know where the great Ping King's ancestral land was. Now he can only take one step at a time. At night, Lin Feng found a hidden cave and used a formation to seal the cave. Then he rested inside the cave. Little Moon was curled up in Lin Feng's arms, its little hands tightly clutching onto Lin Feng's clothes. In its sleep, it would occasionally let out frightened sleep talk. No matter how sensible Little Moon was, she was still less than 5 years old. Today, she had seen so many of her clansmen die tragically, and her grandmother had also died tragically in front of her. This was an unimaginable blow to Little Moon's young heart. "Big brother, where's Little Moon's grandma?" After an unknown amount of time, Lin Feng heard a sobbing voice. He opened his eyes and looked at Little Moon, who was curled up in his arms. He didn't know when she had woken up. She looked at him pitifully. "She went to a place very, very far away," Lin Feng said softly. "Little Moon, will you never see your grandma again?" Tears rolled down Little Moon's cheeks like pearls. Little Moon kept wiping them away, but they couldn't stop flowing. "Grandma is tired. She needs to rest. She needs to sleep for many years," Lin Feng said gently. "Will Little Moon be able to see her again?" Little Moon looked at Lin Feng expectantly. She looked so pitiful that Lin Feng felt his heart break. Who could bear to say such cruel words to such a naive, flawless little girl? "Yes, I believe that Little Moon will be able to see your grandma again," Lin Feng said. "That's great! Little Moon will be able to see your grandma again." Little Moon was very happy. She wrapped her arms around Lin Feng's neck and leaned against Lin Feng's chest. She quickly fell asleep again. At night, several groups of cultivators passed by the mountain where Lin Feng and Little Moon were hiding. However, they couldn't find any traces of Lin Feng. "That boy's identity has been confirmed. He's the boy we were chasing in the gate of heaven. He's alone with a burden. He can't have gone far." A few cultivators were talking in low voices. Lin Feng, who was hiding in the cave, happened to hear them. Very quickly, the cultivators left. "I have to catch someone. Only then will I know where the great rocks are." However, these cultivators gather in groups of 3 to 5. Once they appear, Little Moon and I will be exposed. I can't care too much. If I don't know where the great rocks are, When the 3 prefectures send more strong cultivators to search for me and Little Moon, only death will await us. Lin Feng's expression was gloomy. He knew that he had to take action. Time waited for no one. Little Moon, hug your big brother's neck and bury your head in my chest. No matter what happens, don't let go and don't raise your head. Do you hear me? Lin Feng said gently. I hear you. Little Moon nodded obediently. Lin Feng took out a long robe and tied Little Moon to his body. Little Moon was very obedient. She hugged Lin Feng's neck and buried her head in Lin Feng's chest. Lin Feng calmly waited for the cultivators from the 3 prefectures to arrive. Not long after, 5 cultivators flew over. Lin Feng rushed out and used Sky Splitter to attack these cultivators. Boy, you're courting death! A few cultivators roared and took out magic treasures to attack Lin Feng. Kacha, kacha! A few magic treasures were destroyed, and one cultivator after another was killed. Only one person was left alive. Lin Feng had intentionally let him live. That cultivator turned around and ran. Lin Feng quickly chased after him and grabbed his head. Soul Search! A powerful spiritual energy entered the cultivator's mind and forcefully searched his soul. Ah! The upper heaven gate cultivator let out an incomparably shrill scream. Lin Feng got the answer he wanted. He broke the cultivator's neck and threw his corpse on the ground. Then, Lin Feng carried Little Moon and quickly flew towards the territory of the Great Rocks. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the forest. Although the battle here was short, many people had already sensed it. Many people rushed in the direction of the original battle. That boy will definitely go to the territory of the Great Rocks and kill him on the way, said the masked cultivator coldly. Use the Jade Talisman to contact Qin Tian and Bai Ri to stop that boy, said Gong Sun Wushu in a deep voice. Yes, said a strong cultivator from the upper heaven gate. He immediately took out a Jade Talisman and sent the message. Lin Feng flew for 3 days in the forest. He wanted to find a place to rest. He saw a mountain range in front of him and decided to hide there and rest. Lin Feng flew towards the mountain range. At that moment, the air behind him shook slightly. A skinny cultivator stepped out of the air and threw a punch at Lin Feng. Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. He reacted quickly and turned around to counter the attack with a punch. Bang! The 2 cultivators collided violently. Lin Feng had the impression a godly mountain had crashed into him. He was blown away, and his blood was boiling. He couldn't help but cough up blood. Little boy, let's see how you're going to escape today. The person who had attacked was one of the 4 strong cultivators, Yu Wenqing. He walked towards Lin Feng coldly. His face was filled with killing intent. Chapter 1043. When he saw Yu Wenqing, Lin Feng's expression became grave. He was a terrifying cultivator who had broken through to the 8th life and death layer. His strength was unfathomable. Lin Feng took a deep breath. Yu Wenqing had already locked onto him. He couldn't avoid this battle. Lin Feng knew that he had to get rid of Yu Wenqing as quickly as possible. Otherwise, once the others arrived, he and Little Yu Yu would die. Little Yu Yu, hold on to your big brother. Don't be afraid. Lin Feng patted Little Yu Yu's back. With Big Brother here, Little Yu Yu is not afraid, said Little Yu Yu seriously. Your big brother won't be able to save you because he can't even protect himself, said Yu Wenqing with a cold smile. He threw a punch at Lin Feng. In a flash, a tide of energy appeared in the sky. It was called Heaven and Earth Tide Fist. The tide of energy was 10,000 zhan long, and it engulfed the sky. Lin Feng took a step forward and used his Great Death technique. A long river of death condensed in the void and slammed into the energy tide that was about to drown out everything. Lin Feng didn't hold back. He used his most powerful technique to fight against Yu Wenqing. Bang! The river of death directly destroyed the tide of energy. As expected of one of the 3,000 great spells, its power was tyrannical. Even though Lin Feng's cultivation level was much lower than Yu Wenqing's, he still relied on the Great Death technique to break Yu Wenqing's attack. The river of death swept towards Yu Wenqing. A powerful death energy surged out. The death energy started corroding Yu Wenqing's body. So it's the great death technique of the 3,000 great spells. You're really surprising me. You surprisingly have such a tyrannical divine ability. But what's the use of it? In front of absolute strength, your divine abilities can't harm me. Then, Yu Wenqing took a step forward and threw 9 punches in a row. Bang! Bang! One punch after another landed on the river of death. The river of death collapsed. Dao death technique! Dao destruction technique! Lin Feng rushed over, condensing 2 origin characters. He fused the 2 origin characters together and blasted them toward Yu Wenqing. Yu Wenqing's expression was indifferent. She used the Heaven Calamity Light to destroy Lin Feng's 2 original Dao characters. 8 Divine Seals! Great Suppression Technique! Lin Feng once again activated 2 types of spirit techniques. His methods could be said to be endless. The 8 God-forbidding seals sealed Yu Wenqing's heavenly tribulation light. The Great Suppression Technique directly suppressed Yu Wenqing. Yu Wenqing's expression changed slightly. She quickly retreated and used the Sun-Moon Punch again, condensing the Sun and the Moon. The Great Suppression Technique collided with the Sun-Moon Divine Fist, blocking the attack of the Sun-Moon Divine Fist. The Dao Annihilation and the Dao Death characters collided with Yu Wenqing's body and sent her flying. Wow! Yu Wenqing spat out a mouthful of blood, and her face became extremely pale. To think that I was actually injured by an ant like you! Then, Yu Wenqing roared in anger. He was a strong cultivator, so he had his dignity. Now, he had been injured by a cultivator whom he had regarded as an ant. He was furious. Besides, Yu Wenqing was one of the 4 strongest cultivators in Blue Sky and White Sunday. Now that Lin Feng had injured her, she was furious. Godly Destruction Fist! Yu Wenqing roared angrily and leaped out. His body emitted a destructive power. The destructive strength revolved around Yu Wenqing's body. In the end, all the destructive strength condensed in her right fist. Yu Wenqing threw a punch at Lin Feng. Regal Sword Grave! Lin Feng could sense how powerful Yu Wenqing's godly destruction fist was, so he didn't want to face it head-on. If he was alone, Lin Feng wouldn't have minded fighting Yu Wenqing. But he still had Little Moon in his arms. If Yu Wenqing got close to Little Moon, he would definitely die if he was hit by Yu Wenqing's attack. Regal Sword Control Technique / 3 precious swords flew out of the Regal Sword Grave and shot towards Yu Wenqing. Under Lin Feng's control, the 3 swords looked like 3 dragons baring their fangs and brandishing their claws as they shot towards Yu Wenqing. Yu Wenqing threw a punch at the 3 swords. Clang, 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 destructive force coiled around Yu Wenqing's hand, and then it collided with the 3 swords. Immediately, the sound of metal colliding rang out. The 3 flying swords couldn't break through Yu Wenqing's defense. Little boy, my godly destruction fist is a peerless technique derived from the Great Destruction Technique. It can summon the purest destructive strength in the world and destroy everything in its path. Yu Wenqing let out a long howl and threw out another 3 punches. Yu Wenqing's 3 punches collided with the 3 swords. The 3 swords were blown thousands of meters away. It wasn't because Lin Feng's Regal Sword Control Technique wasn't strong enough. It was because Yu Wenqing's cultivation level was too high. Yu Wenqing's godly destruction fist was extremely strong. Therefore, even though Lin Feng had tried his best, he was still completely suppressed. After the 3 swords were blown away, Yu Wenqing jumped in the air and appeared in front of Lin Feng. The godly destruction fist swept towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng and Yu Wenqing's fists collided. Yu Wenqing's punch was too powerful. It sent Lin Feng flying, and a powerful destructive strength poured into Lin Feng's body. The destructive strength exploded. Bang! Half of Lin Feng's body exploded, and blood splashed everywhere. Woo 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 woo, big brother, are you in pain? Little Moon saw that Lin Feng was covered in blood and started crying. Big brother, I'm fine. Lin Feng took Little Moon in his arms and retreated, but Yu Wenqing had already arrived. She threw another godly destruction fist at Lin Feng. The fist enveloped Lin Feng, and Lin Feng had the feeling that he couldn't dodge. Yu Wenqing was too strong, and Lin Feng wasn't strong enough to fight against her. Lin Feng felt powerless in the face of Yu Wenqing's attack. "Little boy, I'll take your life." Yu Wenqing sneered and threw a terrifying punch at Lin Feng's head. If that punch hit Lin Feng, his head would explode. At that time, it would definitely be a situation of death. "Bad guy, don't bully Little Moon's big brother!" Little Moon stretched out her white hand and slapped Yu Wenqing. Suddenly, a terrifying scene appeared. The air was frozen. It was the strength of the earth-eaten ice meridians. Little Yu suddenly released the strength of the earth-eaten ice meridians. The earth-eaten ice meridians had been suppressed by the celestial meridian's fire valley for a long time, but now it was exploding. Not only did the air freeze, but Lin Feng also started shaking. Ice chi penetrated into Lin Feng's body, and he had the impression he was going to freeze. Yu Wenqing, who had been throwing a punch at Lin Feng, was frozen in midair by the earthy cold meridian's power. A good opportunity. Lin Feng resisted the cold chi and threw a punch at Yu Wenqing. Slash! His fist directly smashed Yu Wenqing's head into pieces. Yu Wenqing's headless corpse fell into the forest. "Little Moon, it's so cold! Is Little Moon going to die?" Little Moon couldn't suppress the earthy cold meridian's power anymore, and her limbs started to freeze. Very quickly, her body was also frozen. "Little Moon, I'm so happy to have met Big Brother." Little Moon tried her best to smile. Her slender neck, ears, and face were also frozen. She couldn't suppress the earthy cold meridian's power anymore, and it was about to take her life. Chapter 1044. What a cold body! What's wrong with Little Yu? His body is going to be frozen. Lin Feng looked at Little Yu seriously. Little Yu was in a terrible situation, so Lin Feng didn't dare hesitate. He hurriedly released heaven fire to suppress the yin energy in Little Yu's body. Ordinary people couldn't withstand heaven fire. Once heaven fire entered their body, they would die. But Little Yu's body was too special. His earthy cold meridians were enough to resist heaven fire. After heaven fire entered Little Yu's body, the yin energy in Little Yu's body started to disperse. Little Yu's breathing also became more stable. When Lin Feng saw that, he finally heaved a sigh of relief. He didn't dare stay, so he quickly flew away. Swoosh! 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 After Lin Feng left, many silhouettes appeared in the distance. "Is that Master Yuan?" Some of them were from the Supreme Gate of Heaven, and some were from the three governments. When the cultivators from the Supreme Gate of Heaven saw the headless corpse on the ground, they were astonished. "Yuan, you died so tragically!" Na Lan Tian, Gong Sun Bai, and Dong Fangri also arrived. When they saw Yu Wenqing's corpse, they all looked gloomy. The power of the Earth Frost Meridian sealed Elder Yuan's body. That's why he was killed by that kid. The descendant of Emperor Tai Ching isn't even 5 years old yet. He already knows how to use the power of the Earth Frost Meridian? Gong Sun Wushu pulled a long face. Yu Wenqing was a cultivator of the 8th life and death layer, and he had an extraordinary status in the Supreme Gate of Heaven. Now that he had been killed, it was a great loss for the sect. "Keep looking. That little boy won't be able to escape," said the masked man in a deep voice. "When we catch that little boy, we'll crush his bones and scatter his ashes," shouted Na Lan Tian, Gong Sun Bai, and Dong Fangri furiously. Swoosh! The three cultivators immediately flew off into the distance. The others quickly dispersed and continued looking for Lin Feng. Only Gong Sun Wushu and the masked man were left behind. "What do you think of that matter?" The masked cultivator looked at Gong Sun Wushu. Gong Sun Wushu's face fell. "Give me some more time, and I'll give you an answer." "I hope I won't have to wait too long," the masked cultivator said. Gong Sun Wushu and the masked cultivator also left. Gong Sun Wushu, who was standing in the forest in the distance, looked at the departing figure of the masked cultivator. A sinister expression appeared on his face, but that sinister expression was quickly concealed by him. In a cave, Lin Feng continued suppressing the power of the earthine frost meridian in Little Moon's body. Every time it was suppressed, the power of the earthine frost meridian would erupt again. Lin Feng had already suppressed Little Moon 10 times. His expression was rather ugly because Little Moon's situation seemed to be worse than he had imagined. Is this a special kind of constitution? Otherwise, how could it have sealed a strong cultivator like Yuan Qing? Lin Feng muttered. If Little Moon hadn't frozen Yuan Qing, he would have already died in her hands. Boom! Suddenly, the power of the earthine frost meridian in Little Moon's body exploded again. Each time it exploded, the power of the explosion was even more terrifying than the previous one. Lin Feng's expression became more and more solemn. After suppressing the power of the earthine frost meridian in Little Moon's body again, Lin Feng took a deep breath and used his heavenly fire to dissolve the Yin frost meridian in Little Moon's body. I can't suppress the Yin frost meridian in Little Moon's body anymore. This is troublesome. Is she really going to? Lin Feng sighed. He looked at Little Moon, who was frowning in her sleep. He couldn't help but feel sad. She was such a lovely little girl, and now she was going to die. Lin Feng was depressed. The earthine frost meridian is devouring her life force. She won't last more than 10 hours. At that moment, the demon lord's voice sounded. In the space of the demonic orb, Yao Jun sat on a lone grave with a lonely expression. So? Little Moon is definitely going to die? Asked Lin Feng in a low voice. There are many things that can't be suppressed just by suppressing them. Sometimes, we have to change our methods, said the demon lord. Can't be suppressed? So you're trying to guide her? Asked Lin Feng. You're pretty smart. You got it so quickly. You understand, said the demon lord indifferently. But how can we guide her? If we don't suppress the Yin frost meridian in Little Moon's body, it can instantly devour her weak life force, said Lin Feng. The earthine frost meridian is indeed terrifying. This child alone can't resist it. She needs help from others. I remember that in the ancient times there was a guy called the Earthine Saint who had the same constitution as this little girl, but he was different from the others. He actually survived. The demon lord was lost in his memories. How did he survive? Asked Lin Feng anxiously. It's said that a frost pearl condensed in his body. That frost pearl continuously devoured the Yin frost meridian's power. Through the frost pearl, he could control the Yin frost meridian's power, said the demon lord. How do you condense a frost pearl? Asked Lin Feng. There are more than 10 methods, but most of them have been lost for a long time. The success rate isn't high either. I have a method that requires a cultivator who cultivates the Great Ice Technique to help condense a frost pearl in his body, said the demon lord. Lin Feng's expression darkened. The Great Ice Technique is one of the 3,000 Great Das, right? Where can I find such a technique? Even if I search the entire universe, I won't be able to find it. What a coincidence. Back then, I killed the evil Ice Serpent King and obtained the cultivation method of the Great Ice Technique from it. The demon lord smiled. Lin Feng looked delighted. What do I need to get the Great Ice Technique from you? Lin Feng understood the demon lord's personality. It was impossible to ask him for help. He needed to exchange benefits. Swear on your life. Promise me one thing. No matter what I ask of you in the future, you must do it for me, said the demon lord. All right. Lin Feng nodded. He didn't have a choice because Little Moon had less than 10 hours to live. Even though the demon lord's request was excessive, Lin Feng had no choice but to agree. Today I, Lin Feng, swear on my life that I will do one thing for the demon lord in the future. No matter what it is, as long as it's from the demon lord, I will not refuse. If I violate this oath, I will die a horrible death. After making the oath, Lin Feng sensed a rune appear in his mind. It faintly connected him to the demon lord. It was the oath rune. If Lin Feng violated the oath in the future, the oath rune would destroy him. His soul would be destroyed and he would never be able to live again. Chapter 1045. Circulate in the heavenly palace, move to the perineum, pass through the heavenly gate, Shaoyang, Taiyang, Shaoyin, Juk, and other 72 acupuncture points, flow into the 100 rivers, flow into the 9 heavenly veins, and then flow into the divine court veins. Lin Feng sat cross-legged and began to cultivate the great ice art according to the demon lord's teachings. Of course, Lin Feng also knew that it wasn't easy to cultivate the great ice art in a short time. It needed time. However, Lin Feng wanted to familiarize himself with the great ice art and understand how to cultivate it. This way, he could help Little Moon temporarily suppress the power of the earthy cold meridian. After 72 circulations, Lin Feng was finally able to cultivate the great ice art skillfully. He placed his hands on Little Moon's body. When the great ice spell was activated, the power of the earthy cold meridian in Little Moon's body continuously poured into Lin Feng's body. Right now, Lin Feng couldn't help Little Moon condense the cold pearl. Therefore, he could only use this method to temporarily help Little Moon suppress the power of the earthy cold meridian. Perhaps this was the best way to go about it. As the power of the earthy cold meridian poured into his body, Lin Feng's body began to freeze. Even his blood was about to be frozen. Fortunately, Lin Feng refined 2 types of heavenly fire. At the moment of danger, Lin Feng's heavenly fire protected his body and counteracted the damage of the earthy cold meridian. When the power of the earthy cold meridian in Little Moon's body was completely absorbed by Lin Feng, Little Moon's painful expression disappeared and her breathing became calm. For a short time, there shouldn't be any big problems with Little Moon. However, at this time, Lin Feng's situation wasn't very good. Although he had the heavenly fire protecting his body was almost frozen by the earthy cold meridian. If it was someone else, after absorbing so much power of the earthy cold meridian, their soul would probably have already died. Therefore, it was really not easy for Lin Feng to survive. If you use the Great Ice spell to absorb the Yin meridians, you'll be able to master the Great Ice spell quickly. If you cultivate by yourself, you won't be able to master the Great Ice spell without at least a few years. The Demon Lord reminded. Lin Feng nodded and began to circulate the Great Ice spell. As the Great Frozen Art circulated, Lin Feng's terrifying earth-cold meridian energy was continuously absorbed and refined. As for the Great Frozen Art, it began to condense runes of a formation. These were the runes of the Divine Ability Array. Divine Ability Formation. This was the sign of a successful cultivation. Before the formation was formed, the divine ability would automatically condense formation runes. Arrays were formed by the combination of array patterns. When the array pattern reached a certain level, it would condense into a large array. Whoosh! 2 hours later, Lin Feng let out a long breath and opened his eyes, revealing a hint of joy. After absorbing the Yin meridian energy, Lin Feng's Great Ice spell had condensed 1,000 runes. When these runes were combined, Lin Feng could be considered to have reached a small success in the Great Ice spell. Of course, if he wanted to reach a large success in the Great Ice spell, he would need more time. As for reaching a large success in the Great Ice spell, he would need to have a strong comprehension ability. Simply absorbing the Yin meridian energy would not allow him to reach that level. Big brother, is Little Moon still alive? Little Moon opened her eyes and sat up. She was a bit puzzled. Lin Feng hugged Little Moon and said, "With Big Brother here, Little Moon will be fine," said Lin Feng. "That's great! Little Moon is still alive!" Little Moon was very excited and kissed Lin Feng on the cheek. Lin Feng took out some food, including spirit fruits, dried meat, and some water. Little Moon was obviously hungry. She ate 2 spirit fruits, a piece of dried meat, and drank some water. After playing for a while, she became sleepy again. She curled up in Lin Feng's arms and quickly fell asleep. Lin Feng also ate some food to recover his strength. The road ahead was going to be even more dangerous. Lin Feng was very clear about that. He looked at Little Moon in his arms and smiled warmly. As long as a person was alive, as long as they had faith, they had nothing to fear. He gently stroked Little Moon's head. Very quickly, Lin Feng also fell asleep. After resting, Lin Feng took Little Moon and continued flying towards the territory of the Great Rocks. No matter how dangerous it was, they had to go to the territory of the Great Rocks. The strong cultivators of the three governments were looking for Lin Feng and Little Moon. It was unrealistic to rely on their own strength to leave the South Continent. Only by going to the territory of the Great Rocks would they be safe. That little boy has been found. Lin Feng and Little Moon were found by the strong cultivators of the three governments. Dozens of strong cultivators surrounded them from all directions. Then, all kinds of powerful attacks were launched towards Lin Feng and Little Moon. Lin Feng had to protect Little Moon so he couldn't use his full strength. After a fierce battle, Lin Feng killed a group of strong cultivators and quickly left with Little Moon. The closer they got to the territory of the Great Rocks, the more strong cultivators they encountered. Lin Feng was surrounded by a dozen strong cultivators from the three governments. He had already killed 400 to 500 strong cultivators from the three governments. Lin Feng was also injured again and again. There were many places on his body where his bones were exposed. Fortunately, Lin Feng had the immortal body. He could recover quickly after being injured. He also had the green leaf stone, a treasure that could quickly recover his magic power. Otherwise, under the encirclement of the three palaces' experts, he would have died many times over. Big brother, let's take a rest. After a big battle, Lin Feng left with Little Moon in his arms. Little Moon looked at Lin Feng's pale face and felt sorry for him. Lin Feng rubbed Little Moon's head and said, "Big brother, it's all right. We'll reach the territory of the Great Rocks in less than 1,000 miles. We can't stop now." Lin Feng carried Little Moon and flew towards the territory of the Great Rocks in the night. When they were still 300 miles away, they ran into trouble. Thousands of cultivators rushed out of the forest and surrounded Lin Feng and Little Moon. "Little boy, you're like a grasshopper. You've ruined our plan. Even if you die 1,000,000 times, it won't be enough to appease our anger." Gong Sunbai stepped forward and said coldly. Lin Feng and Gong Sunbai were old rivals, so he knew how terrifying he was. Now that Gong Sunbai was there, and he had so many strong cultivators with him, Lin Feng knew that things were getting troublesome. If they could break through, there was still a chance. If they couldn't break through, only death would await them. He took a deep breath and silently took out the revered sword tomb. "Kill!" Murderous shouts spread in the air. Cultivators from all directions were rushing towards Lin Feng like a flood. "Revered sword tomb, open!" Lin Feng shouted, and the revered sword tomb rose into the sky. Crack! The sword box opened. 3 swords flew out and slashed at the thousands of cultivators who were charging at them. Chapter 1046. Pooh! 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 Ripping sounds could be heard as cultivators were killed one by one. However, Lin Feng's body was also covered in wounds, and blood kept flowing out. There were too many opponents. Even though Lin Feng used a defensive treasure like the 7 treasures glazed pagoda to protect his body, there were still some cultivators who could break through his defense and kill him. Moreover, Lin Feng also had to take care of Little Moon, so the situation was not good. This was a war of attrition, and these people kept exhausting Lin Feng. Lin Feng's battle power was naturally getting weaker and weaker. If he lost too much blood, his physical strength would also be consumed very quickly. A cultivator seized an opportunity and came behind Lin Feng, slapping at Lin Feng. Bang! This powerful attack fiercely hit Lin Feng's back, and directly sent Lin Feng flying. Lin Feng rolled a few times on the ground. More than 10 cultivators rushed forward, wanting to kill Lin Feng. "Great ice art!" Lin Feng slapped the ground, and with his palm as the center, ice chi spread out in all directions. The dozen strong cultivators who had rushed towards Lin Feng were instantly frozen. Lin Feng used the sky-splitting slash. Pooh! The cultivators' bodies were directly cut in half, and they died on the spot. An attack like the Great Ice Art was naturally powerful, But this kind of attack could not be used casually. This was because the great ice art consumed too much of one's body, and one's magic power could not support this level of magic power repeatedly. Although Lin Feng had a treasure like the Emerald Leaf Stone, which could quickly recover magic power, with so many cultivators surrounding him, these people would not give him the time to refine the Emerald Leaf Stone at all. This was the reason why many ants could kill an elephant. "Brat, eat my fist!" Seeing that Lin Feng had already killed 100 strong warriors, Gong Sun Bai finally made his move. He roared coldly and rushed over, sweeping a storm god fist at Lin Feng. Around Gong Sun Bai, a strong storm was formed. These storms spun violently, turning into a small tornado that circled around Gong Sun Bai's fist. Lin Feng used the 5 Emperor Dragon fists to block Gong Sun Bai's storm god fist. As soon as they clashed, the violent power of the storm instantly tore apart Lin Feng's sleeves. Then, a wound appeared on Lin Feng's arm. It was as if he had been cut by a sharp blade. Even his bones were exposed. This storm god's fist was really terrifying. It seemed like it wanted to completely tear Lin Feng's body apart. 8 divine seals! At the critical moment, Lin Feng used the 8 god-forbidding seals to seal the power of the storm. "Shatter rivers and mountains!" Gong Sun Bai attacked again. He raised his left hand and slammed it toward Lin Feng. Poof! This hit directly on Lin Feng's body and sent Lin Feng flying. His left shoulder was pierced, and blood immediately flowed out. His entire shoulder was almost chopped off. Lin Feng was severely injured. He quickly retreated and was about to use his immortal body to heal his injuries. However, the surrounding cultivators had already rushed over. They didn't even give Lin Feng a chance to heal. Clang! Someone wielded a giant axe and smashed the 7 treasures glazed pagoda. This defensive Dao treasure was sent flying, and the 7 treasures glazed pagoda's luster dimmed. Although this treasure was powerful, it was only a mid-grade Dao treasure. However, the giant axe in the opponent's hand was a high-grade Dao treasure that could break through the 7 treasures glazed pagoda's defense. The opponent swung the giant axe and slammed it on the 7 treasures glazed pagoda again. The defensive system of the 7 treasures glazed pagoda was completely destroyed, and this treasure entered Lin Feng's body. The expert with the giant axe was from the Tuoba family, one of the 3 prefectures. His name was Tuoba Ji, and he was the son of the Tuoba family's great elder. His position in the family was not to be underestimated, so he had a high-grade Dao treasure. "This brat's defensive treasure has been destroyed. Let's kill him together!" shouted Tuoba Ji furiously. He raised his gigantic axe and attacked Lin Feng with the strength of a mountain. The surrounding cultivators also rushed over, and all kinds of treasures attacked Lin Feng. "Martial spirit! Activate!" Lin Feng didn't hold back and activated his 5 devouring martial spirits. The 5 devouring martial spirits instantly merged into one, and the power of the confinement magnetic field was pushed to the extreme. With him as the center, a powerful confinement magnetic field formed within 10 meters. Tuoba Ji and more than 20 cultivators from the 1 sect and 3 prefectures were trapped, unable to move. "Go to hell!" Lin Feng reached out his right hand and grabbed Tuoba Ji's head. "Save me!" Tuoba Ji shouted in fear. But no one could save him. Lin Feng grabbed Tuoba Ji's head, and with a slight force, he directly plucked Tuoba Ji's head off. Pooh! Fresh blood spurted out from his neck, and Tuoba Ji's headless corpse fell to the ground. At the same time, Lin Feng used the regal sword control art to activate the 3 swords. One by one, the trapped cultivators and the experts from the 1 sect and 3 prefectures were killed. The ground was littered with corpses, and blood flowed like a river. Boom! In the distance, a terrifying aura spread out. Na Lan Tian flew over. His expression was indifferent. "Brat, do you think you can smoothly reach the land of the fiends? How naive!" Then, in another direction, a blazing sun appeared. A cultivator stood in the middle of the sun, and it was Dong Fangri. Dong Fangri said coldly, "Today, I will kill you by 1,000 cuts, Then extract your soul and throw it into purgatory so that you will never be reincarnated. Rumble! An ancient bronze carriage came through the sky, and an ancestor of the Tuoba clan arrived. The ancestor stepped out of the carriage and looked at Lin Feng with sinister eyes. I really didn't expect you to be so young. You have such an enviable age, talent, and cultivation. You're so young, but you killed so many experts from the one sect and 3 prefectures. It's unbelievable. An ancient powerhouse of the Zhongjin clan also walked over. This brat has many secrets. If we capture him, the value of these secrets is no less than that of the descendants of Emperor Taiqing. An ancient powerhouse of the Shangguan clan also walked over. When did someone like you appear among the supreme geniuses? It seems like you didn't participate in the last genius battle. Are you the newest one? The masked cultivator looked coldly at Lin Feng. In recent years, there have been a few supreme geniuses who rose to prominence, but I know all of them. The only one I don't know is a cultivator called Lin Feng. Are you the Lin Feng who people call the Little Stone Saint? Gongsun Wishu's lips curled into a sinister smile. Let's go. When Lin Feng saw so many peerless cultivators arrive, his expression became grave. He didn't dare stay, and he immediately rushed away. You can't leave. This place has been sealed. Stay here. Gongsun Wishu, the masked cultivator, the 3 ancient powerhouses of the Tuoba clan, the Zhongjin clan, and the Shangguan clan, as well as Na Lan Tian, Gong Sun Bai, and Dong Fang Ri, 8 ancient powerhouses attacked together. The attacks of the 8 strong cultivators surrounded Lin Feng. In an instant, Lin Feng was shocked to find that he couldn't move. He sensed a thick death qi enveloping his body. Chapter 1047. Boom! In the distance, a wave of demonic qi swept over. Just as the attacks of the 8 experts were about to land on Lin Feng, the demonic qi surged over and collided with their attacks. The attacks of the 8 powerhouses were broken in an instant. Then, more than a dozen figures descended. There were men and women, old and young, but their strength was unfathomable. They were all led by a woman in snow-white clothes. She looked like a fairy from the 9th heaven, and she was as beautiful as a celestial lotus. Sister Shui Yao. Little Moon's eyes lit up when she saw the woman. She obviously recognized her. Little Moon, I'm late and scared you. It's all my fault, but from now on, I won't let anyone bully you anymore. The woman called Shui Yao by Little Moon spoke softly. She then stretched out her hands and looked at Lin Feng, saying, Thank you for escorting Little Moon. Now hand her over to me. This woman was clearly an expert of the devil race, and her status was definitely not simple. Those unfathomably strong devil race elders were all standing behind her respectfully. Little Moon hugged Lin Feng tightly and buried her head in Lin Feng's chest. Shui Yao smiled bitterly and said, All right. I won't hug you. Let this big brother hug you instead. Little Moon raised her head and nodded heavily. You're the princess of the phoenix race, Shui Yao. The masked man's expression was gloomy. Many people's expressions changed. The phoenix race was definitely one of the strongest races of the devil race. Since the beginning of time, the phoenix race had always been the most mysterious race. The divine abilities they possessed were unimaginable. The era before the immemorial era was too long, and there were very few records of that era. After the immemorial era began, the phoenix race had always been one of the 9 great races of the devil race. The most terrifying ability of the phoenix race was Phoenix Nirvana. It was said that they were unkillable. Even if they were killed, it would only be a temporary death because they could undergo nirvana. Once they returned, they would become even stronger. You're quite observant. Princess Shui Yao looked indifferent. So what if you're from the phoenix race? Do you think we're afraid of you? Dong Fangri sneered. An expert who had stepped into the 10th layer of life and death realm naturally had nothing to fear. What's more, there were as many experts as there were clouds in a single clan with 3 manors. They did not fear anyone. Gongsun Wishu said, I've long heard that the Phoenix clan's inheritance is peerless and invincible. Today, I'd like to experience it for myself. As he spoke, Gongsun Wushu raised his right hand. Void shattering slash. Crack. The void cracked open as an attack containing the power of destruction was formed. This was an attack condensed from the Void Annihilation Chop. This Void Annihilation Chop had a great origin. It was an offensive technique recorded in the Great Void Technique, one of the 3,000 Great Das. Oblivion of all worlds! When facing Gongsun Wushu's attack, Princess Shuiyao stretched out her slender right hand that was crystalline and translucent like jade. She picked up a flower with her right hand and gently flicked it. An illusory world condensed in the void and swallowed Gongsun Wushu's attack. After that, the void world moved towards Gongsun Wushu to envelop him. As expected of a descendant of the Phoenix clan. You're really powerful. You can actually break through my Void Annihilation Chop. Gongsun Wushu shouted and stepped forward, throwing out 3 punches in succession. Above his fists, a destructive light condensed. After 3 punches, the mysterious world that Princess Shuiyao had condensed shattered. You're not bad either. You were able to block my attack. Let's stop here today. Let's go. Princess Shuiyao waved her sleeves, and her demonic chi rolled out and enveloped everyone. Then, the demonic chi soared into the sky and escaped into the distance. There were many experts on the side of the 1 family and 3 prefectures. They had an absolute advantage in terms of numbers, so how could they let them leave so easily? Stop them! The experts on the side of the 1 family and 3 prefectures attacked one after another. All kinds of powerful attacks were launched towards the demonic chi. If we want to leave, I'm afraid that you won't be able to stop us. Great banishing technique. Princess Shuiyao was really powerful. Facing the attacks that covered the sky and the earth, she continuously formed seals with both hands and tore open the void. When the long river of attacks came crashing down, all of them were swallowed up by the void that had split open. Then, the demonic chi wrapped around everyone and quickly left. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared. We have so many people, but we let a mere dozen of them escape. If this gets out, we'll become the laughingstock of the world. Gongsun Bai said gloomily. The experts of the 1 family and 3 prefectures all had unsightly expressions. No wonder that Princess Shuiyao was so fearless. She learned the great banishing technique. We were tricked by her. What do you plan to do now? Said the masked cultivator gloomily. How's the great Peng Emperor doing? Do you know? Asked Gongsun Wushu suddenly. He's been injured for hundreds of years. I heard that he obtained a creation fossil and wants to use the creation fossil's luck to suppress his injuries, said the leader of the Toba family. If the great Peng Emperor recovers, it won't be a good thing for us, said the masked cultivator gloomily. Dong Fangri frowned and said, It's not that easy to recover from a Dao injury. I've never heard of anyone who was able to survive with a Dao injury. But just in case, we don't mind helping the great Peng Emperor meet his dead ancestors as soon as possible. Since that's what everyone thinks, let's go back and discuss this matter. Since we're going to do it, we have to eliminate the source of the problem, said the leader of the Zhongjing family. The rest of the people couldn't help but curl their lips into a cold expression. The great Peng Emperor's territory was located in the deepest part of the celestial demon forest. There were countless ferocious beasts there, so it was one of the most dangerous places in the southern continent. Very few cultivators would come here. Everyone stopped outside a valley in the depths of the celestial demon forest. Rumble. At that moment there was a huge sound. It was obvious that the great Peng Emperor's territory had been activated. The great Peng Emperor's territory was a huge spatial world. It was connected to the Tianwu continent through some restrictions. It was a paradise for the Yao race. Dozens of cultivators flew out under the lead of an old man. What? Only you came back? Where's Grandma Chuyun? Asked the old man in the lead. Princess Shuiyao sighed and said, They're all dead. Little Moon was able to escape alive thanks to Lin Gongzi. The old man was an elder of the great Peng Emperor's tribe. His name was Jin Shizhen, and most people called him Elder Jin. When he heard this bad news, tears streamed down his face. I've known Grandma Chuyun for more than 8,000 years, When I received a message from her, I knew that she was going to bring the little princess to the southern continent. I was very happy, but I didn't expect that my old friend would die so tragically. The southern continent's humans have gone too far in bullying the Yao race. Chapter 1048. Little Moon curled up in Lin Feng's arms and fell asleep. Under Elder Jin's guidance, Lin Feng was led to a courtyard. The land of the monster race was very large. It was a small world with hundreds of millions of people living there. Little Moon's earthine cold meridian is temporarily suppressed. I'm currently cultivating the Great Ice technique. Perhaps I can use it to help her condense a cold pearl. That way, she should be fine, said Lin Feng. Everyone was delighted when they heard this. Elder Jin said, "Thank you, little friend. This child has been tortured by the earthine cold meridian since she was young. Now that her only relative has died, she's all alone. However, at least she's still alive. She won't let the Tai Ching Emperor's bloodline go extinct. You're welcome. Little Moon is very cute. I also hope to help her," said Yang Fan. "There's a 10,000-meter cold pond in the monster race's small world. Perhaps it can help you cultivate the Great Ice technique. You can rest for a day. Tomorrow I'll have someone take you to the cold pond," said Elder Jin. "Thank you, Elder Jin." Lin Feng cupped his fists. Little Moon was carried away by Princess Shuiyao. She was temporarily by Princess Shuiyao's side and was taken care of by her. The Phoenix clan and the Tai Ching Emperor's clan had always been very close, so Lin Feng wasn't worried. When little Ping King Jin Xingyuan heard the news, he quickly rushed over. When he saw Lin Feng, he was extremely excited and gave Lin Feng a bear hug. "Brother Feng! I didn't think you'd come to Nanzhou. When I heard the name Lin Feng, I couldn't believe it. I thought it was just someone with the same name, so I quickly came to see. I didn't think it would really be you, Brother Feng." Jin Xingyuan was very excited. Lin Feng patted Jin Xingyuan's shoulder and said, "Life is unpredictable. I didn't think I'd come to Nanzhou either. Also, many things have happened during this time." After a pause, Lin Feng said, "Let's talk inside." Jin Xingyuan nodded and entered the living room with Lin Feng. The two of them talked about the various things that had happened in the past 2 years, and both of them were quite emotional. "How is Senior Great Rock King now?" Lin Feng asked. "Uncle, you're in the hidden gate of life and death. It's very important to you," Jin Xingyuan said. Lin Feng nodded. The Great Rock King was injured in the first place. His hidden latch of life and death was indeed too important. The slightest carelessness could lead to his death. Originally, Lin Feng wanted to pay a visit to the Great Rock King, but now, he could only give up. "Tomorrow, I want to go to the frigid pond. Bring me there," Lin Feng said. Jin Xingyuan nodded. He didn't stay too long with Lin Feng and quickly left. Not long after, Little Moon woke up and cried for Lin Feng. Princess Shuiyao could only carry Little Moon to Lin Feng. "What's wrong, my Little Moon? Why are you crying?" Lin Feng rubbed Little Moon's head lovingly. Little Moon said, "Little Moon wants to stay by Big Brother's side. Little Moon doesn't want to leave Big Brother's side." Lin Feng hugged Little Moon and smiled. "All right, Big Brother will stay with Little Moon." After playing around for a while, Little Moon grew tired. She ate some food and fell asleep. Because she had been tortured by the Yin Meridian for a long time, Little Moon's body was very weak, so she was very sleepy. She only woke up for a short while. The next day, Lin Feng followed Jin Xingyuan to the frigid pond. The frigid pond was located in the northwest of the small world, deep in an ancient forest. It was about 1 mu in size, and the surrounding 15 kilometers was filled with cold qi. Ordinary people couldn't even get close to the frigid pond. This frigid pond is too cold. Many years ago, a senior explored it and dived 30,000 meters, but he still couldn't reach the bottom. In the end, he came back. But after so many years, nothing strange has happened here. On the contrary, many people who practice ice-type techniques like to come here to cultivate. said the Great Rock King. Little Rock King said. Lin Feng nodded. Along the way, he did see cultivators coming to the area where the frigid pond was. They probably wanted to use the power of the frigid pond to train their techniques. You can go back. I can go in by myself, Lin Feng said. All right, I'll go back first. Jing Xingyuan then left. Lin Feng came to the side of the frigid pond to cultivate. Many demon cultivators pointed at him. This was because very few human cultivators came to the demon race's territory. However, they had vaguely heard that Lin Feng had escorted the descendants of Emperor Taiqing to the demon race's territory, so these demon cultivators didn't show any hostility. They all had friendly expressions. Most people didn't enter the frigid pond to cultivate, because the cold chi outside the frigid pond was cold enough to cultivate ordinary ice-type techniques. If one were to enter the cold pond, it would not be easy for one's body to resist the cold energy of the cold pond. In the end, it was very likely that not only would one's cultivation not increase, but one's body would also be injured. Lin Feng entered the frigid pond and dived down. The yin energy above didn't increase his cultivation by much. When he reached 3,000 meters, Lin Feng started channeling the great ice art. The yin energy poured into Lin Feng's body and turned into runes. Lin Feng didn't know how long he had been practicing cultivation, but he was already 60,000 meters below the surface of the lake. If Lin Feng hadn't practiced the great ice technique, he wouldn't have been able to go that deep because it was too cold. Even the cultivators of the ancient giants would be frozen to death if they dived to this position. However, the great ice art could disperse the coldness. Thus, the yin energy here couldn't harm Lin Feng. Lin Feng finally reached the grand completion stage of the great ice art. This stage could help Lil Moon condense the frigid pearl. Lin Feng planned to leave, but a weak ripple attracted Lin Feng's attention. What's at the bottom of the frigid pond? Lin Feng frowned. Before, the strong cultivator from the Beast clan had come back after reaching 30,000 meters. Lin Feng had already reached 60,000 meters and he still hadn't reached the bottom. Lin Feng was guessing that there were some secrets hidden at the bottom of the lake. Let's go down and take a look. Lin Feng continued down. What surprised Lin Feng was that after 100,000 meters, he finally reached the bottom of the lake. There were cobblestones everywhere. It was a gigantic area. Whoosh! Suddenly, a black silhouette flashed behind Lin Feng. When Lin Feng turned around, he didn't see anything. Lin Feng frowned. He suppressed the throbbing in his heart and swam deeper. That's... Lin Feng's eyes widened. Chapter 1049. At the bottom of the lake was a 1,000-meter-long skeleton. Its entire body was snow-white and sparkling. Upon closer inspection, the skeleton looked like a crystal. Dragon. It's actually a dragon skeleton. No wonder Lin Feng was so shocked. He quickly swam over and landed in front of the skeleton, carefully inspecting it. Based on the shape of the skeleton, could it be an ice dragon? No wonder the lake is so cold. It's because of this ice dragon skeleton. With such a huge body, it must have been a god when it was alive, right? Lin Feng's expression became serious. A god-level ice dragon had actually died here. It was very strange, and Lin Feng was filled with doubts. What had happened? Was this how the ice dragon had died? I wonder when this land of the beasts was built? It seems that even the beasts didn't know that an ice dragon was buried at the bottom of the lake. Lin Feng couldn't help but stroke his chin. Right, a precious bone. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Many powerful beasts had precious bones. Precious bones were bones that had been branded with a divine ability. Because of that, they were treated differently and were named treasures. Obviously, a powerful beast like the ice dragon definitely had a precious bone. If one could obtain an ice dragon's precious bone, they would be able to obtain the divine ability recorded on it. Generally, divine abilities that could be branded on precious bones were top-notch divine abilities passed down from generation to generation. Therefore, they were very valuable. Lin Feng searched for a precious bone on the huge skeleton. Found it! Suddenly his eyes lit up. A piece of bone was engraved with numerous runes. Those runes emitted shocking fluctuations that made Lin Feng's heart palpitate. The ice dragon was a royal dragon, and the divine abilities it had passed down were at least primordial divine abilities. Lin Feng took the precious bone and put it in his storage ring. He continued walking deeper into the lake. At that moment, Lin Feng suddenly sensed a cold aura surging towards him. Almost reflexively, he turned around and slammed his palm behind him. A black shadow enveloped him. Then, a huge suction force surged towards him. Lin Feng felt his attack land on a soft body. His attack was completely negated. A moment later, Lin Feng was sucked in by a huge plate, and he couldn't move at all. The terrifying plate wriggled, trying to swallow Lin Feng whole. What kind of monster is this? Lin Feng's expression suddenly changed. In that moment of life and death crisis, he summoned the regal sword mound, and 3 swords flew out. Slash! 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 The 3 swords pierced the monster's body. Bang! The gigantic monster crashed to the ground. Lin Feng took a deep breath and looked at the monster. When he saw it, his expression changed. It was a gigantic demon leech that was 4 or 5 meters long. Lin Feng had never seen such a huge monster. After the demonic leech was killed, black blood flowed out of its body. The leech itself is a type of medicinal ingredient. Such a huge demonic leech is too valuable. Lin Feng put the demonic leech away. He continued walking deeper into the lake, but he was much more careful this time. Before long, Lin Feng saw a huge abyss. From time to time, shocking waves of energy would surge out. Lin Feng looked into the abyss. He could faintly see a ball of divine light in the abyss. The ball of divine light seemed to contain a supreme treasure. Even though the treasure was dormant, Lin Feng still felt his soul tremble when he sensed its aura. What kind of treasure is that? A divine weapon? Or an imperial weapon? Lin Feng's face was filled with shock. The item wrapped in the divine light was definitely extraordinary. He had sensed a similar aura from the imperial weapon, the Sword of Time. Therefore, Lin Feng concluded that the treasure inside the divine light was very likely an imperial weapon. Even if it wasn't an imperial weapon, it was still a top-tier divine weapon that was very close to one. Lin Feng carefully dove deeper into the abyss, but after diving for about 100 meters, he suddenly sensed a terrifying aura coming from the bottom of the abyss. Next, countless black leeches swam up. The leeches at the bottom of the abyss were too huge. Even the smallest one was over 10 meters long, like a huge python. Moreover, there were so many of them that it was impossible to tell how many there were. Oh no, I have to leave! Lin Feng's face was filled with shock when he saw the demonic leeches rushing out of the abyss. It had already been extremely difficult for him to kill the 4 to 5 meter long demonic leech, let alone the countless huge ones below. If those demonic leeches caught up to him, he would definitely die. After rushing out of the abyss, he swam upwards. The demonic leeches chased him for a while before returning to the abyss. Are these demonic leeches guarding the mysterious treasure in the abyss? I wonder who left it behind. Could the death of the ice dragon in the abyss have something to do with the demonic leeches? Lin Feng frowned. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. With such a huge group of demonic leeches, there would definitely be a king-level demonic leech. A king-level demonic leech might really be able to kill a god. Lin Feng finally swam upwards. With his current strength, he didn't have the ability to touch the mysterious treasure in the abyss. He would have to wait until he became a god before he could try. Lin Feng returned to his residence. When Little Moon saw Lin Feng, she immediately became happy. She stretched out her little hand and ran towards Lin Feng. Big brother, where did you go? I thought you didn't want me anymore, Little Moon said pitifully. Lin Feng took Little Moon in his arms and caressed her head. He smiled and said, How could Big Brother abandon Little Moon? When Little Moon heard Lin Feng's words, she was extremely happy. Her big, bright eyes narrowed into crescents. It seems that you've already mastered the great ice art, exclaimed Princess Shuiyao. Lin Feng nodded. That's right. I've already mastered the great ice art. It's better to condense the frost pearl for Little Moon as soon as possible. So, we'll start tomorrow. Princess Shuiyao nodded. All right, but you have to tell Elder Jean about this. Lin Feng nodded. That night, Elder Jean came to Lin Feng's residence and asked, Young friend, what's the probability of condensing the frost pearl? About 50%, said Lin Feng. Said Elder Jean sorrowfully. You have to succeed. Sovereign Taiching only has one descendant. If Little Moon dies, Sovereign Taiching's line will be cut off. Back then, Sovereign Taiching died at the peak of the Martial Heaven continent. If his line is cut off, how can we face the late Sovereign Taiching? Don't worry. Nothing will happen to Little Moon. Lin Feng nodded. His words sounded more like he was trying to cheer himself up. Little Moon was such a cute and sensible child. If she really died tragically before she was 5 years old, how painful would that be? The next day, everything was ready. Lin Feng and Little Moon entered the room while Princess Shuiyao, Elder Jean, Jean Xinyuan, and the others waited outside anxiously. Chapter 1050. Little Moon was very obedient. She sat in front of Lin Feng and looked at Lin Feng with her big watery eyes. Don't be afraid. If it hurts, just scream. With Big Brother here, Little Moon will be fine, Lin Feng said softly. Little Moon had always been a very strong child. After hearing Lin Feng's words, she said, Little Moon, don't be afraid. With Big Brother here, Little Moon knows that I will definitely get better. Her big watery eyes curved into crescents again. She looked very cute. This was a child that made one's heart ache in pity. She was so young, but she was already so sensible. Lin Feng pinched Little Moon's face lovingly. Then, he took a deep breath and began to circulate the great ice spell. He placed his right hand on Little Moon's back and his left hand on her dantian. When the power of the great ice spell entered Little Moon's body, the power of the earthing cold meridian in her body instantly exploded. The terrifying power of the earthing cold meridian began to freeze Little Moon's body. Little Moon was so cold that she shivered. However, she bit her lips and didn't let herself make a sound. Little Moon was too sensible. She was afraid that Lin Feng would be worried, so she forced herself to endure it. Lin Feng hurriedly guided the power of the earthing cold meridian in Little Moon's body to gather at her dantian. Originally, the power of the earthing cold meridian was like a flood that couldn't be controlled. But now, the power of the earthing cold meridian was quickly gathering at Little Moon's dantian under Lin Feng's guidance. The power of the earthing cold meridian gathered together and turned into the shape of an energy ball. Then, Lin Feng merged the energy produced by the great ice spell into the energy ball. The energy ball was continuously compressed. Gradually, the energy ball was compressed from a gaseous state to a liquid state. And the power of the earthing cold meridian in its liquid state began to condense. After an unknown amount of time, the power of the earthing cold meridian in its liquid state began to gradually transform into a crystal clear bead. This bead was the frost bead. Sensing that the frost bead had successfully formed, Lin Feng revealed a look of joy. He carefully probed and discovered that Little Moon's body was still constantly producing the power of the earthing frost vein. The power of the earthing frost meridian eventually gathered towards the frost pearl and was absorbed by it. As expected, the frigid pearl can control the Yin meridians. Little Yang is fine now. Lin Feng let out a long breath. He was about to withdraw his spiritual force from Little Moon's dantian. Suddenly, Lin Feng realized that there was something wrong. In the depths of Little Moon's dantian, there seemed to be an aura so strong that it made his soul tremble. What is hidden in Little Moon's dantian? Lin Feng was puzzled. His spiritual will carefully flew towards the depths of Little Moon's dantian. Little Moon's dantian was too big, like an ocean. His dantian was like a sea. Lin Feng was astonished. Little Moon hadn't started cultivating yet, so his dantian should have been very small. However, Little Moon's dantian was even bigger than his. If his dantian was as big as an ocean, how big would his dantian become in the future? How much magic power would his dantian contain? Just thinking about it made people feel a sense of shock. Finally, Lin Feng's spiritual will reach the depths of Little Moon's dantian. There, Lin Feng saw a shocking scene. A holy fetus was sitting cross-legged, surrounded by holy light. It was pure and holy, and it emitted shocking fluctuations. A holy imperial fetus! The demon lord's voice sounded. It was filled with astonishment. Obviously, the demon lord was astonished when he saw the holy fetus. A holy imperial fetus? What's a holy imperial fetus? Asked Lin Feng. Little Moon hadn't started cultivating, but there was a holy fetus hidden in her dantian. It was too strange. Moreover, this holy fetus seemed to have a great origin. It was very likely not Little Moon's own holy fetus. It was a holy fetus that had been placed in her dantian. Emperor Taiching's holy fetus, said the demon lord in disbelief. His? Lin Feng couldn't help but gasp. How shocking was the holy fetus of a grand emperor! Logically speaking, the Taiching emperor's sacred fetus should have been destroyed along with his death. But now, his holy fetus had been preserved. It was unknown what method Emperor Taiching had used to preserve his holy fetus and pass it down from generation to generation. This time, it was Little Moon's holy fetus. The holy fetus is dormant because Little Moon hasn't started cultivating. Once she starts cultivating, she'll be able to communicate with the holy fetus and gradually refine its power, said the demon lord. Refine a grand emperor's holy fetus? If I succeed in refining it, how strong will Little Moon become? Asked Lin Feng. Said the demon lord. A conservative estimate is that she'll have 30% of Emperor Taiching's power at his peak. Lin Feng's expression changed. Emperor Taiching was a peerless great emperor. Even 30% of his combat prowess would be enough to slay an ancient giant god. Of course, if you can break through to the Di-Chi layer and refine Great Emperor Taiching's holy embryo, then you'll be unimaginable, continued the demon lord. Lin Feng nodded. Such a great imperial beast's holy embryo is a treasure trove. It seems that you're interested in the holy fetus, said the demon lord. If I can refine the holy fetus's blood essence, my cultivation will advance by leaps and bounds, said Lin Feng. That's suicidal. The imperial beast's holy embryo is sleeping, but if you dare take its blood essence, you'll probably wake it up, and your soul will be destroyed in an instant, said the demon lord. Wealth comes from danger. I'm going to try. Lin Feng gritted his teeth. His divine will instantly flew out and entered the sacred fetus body. It wrapped around a drop of the sacred fetus origin blood and quickly retreated. Success? Lin Feng was pleasantly surprised. But at this time, the sleeping shifter emperor holy embryo suddenly opened its eyes. Screech! The holy fetus let out a piercing shriek. Wah! Lin Feng coughed up a mouthful of blood. The holy fetus's cold eyes glanced at Lin Feng. Crack, crack. Lin Feng's body began to crumble. It's over. I'm dead. Lin Feng's face paled. It was a moment of life and death. Lin Feng's 5 devouring martial spirits suddenly revolved and merged into one. Then, a blurry silhouette appeared in the black hole. Oh my God, it's him. Just as I guessed, the blood of that heaven-defying race is flowing in his veins. But I didn't expect that there would be a mark of that race in his veins. That's terrifying, said the demon lord when he saw the blurry silhouette in the black hole. He was shaking with fear. Chapter 1051. His silhouette was blurry, making people think that he was an illusion, but at the same time, he was standing in the black hole, looking around. He stepped forward. At that moment, time and space seemed to stop. Bang! Next, the holy embryo's attack disappeared. Holy light rushed out of the holy fetus of the demon emperor, wrapping itself in layers, as if it was guarding against the blurry shadow. The holy embryo was afraid. This was too shocking. The holy embryo was so strong, but it was afraid of a blurry silhouette. Lin Feng's godly awareness wrapped around the imperial beast's holy embryo's blood, and it went back into his body. He finally looked relieved. It had been too dangerous. Who is this? Lin Feng sensed the blurry silhouette. It seemed to be looking at him, but it quickly disappeared. Everything calmed down again, but Lin Feng's heart was pounding. He couldn't calm down for a long time. Demon Lord. I think I can guess his identity. Lin Feng took a deep breath. The Demon Lord said, Since you've guessed it, it's fine as long as you know it. This race, what kind of race is it? Their bloodline brand is so strong, Lin Feng asked. Bloodline brands were a kind of inheritance of many powerful races. Sometimes, when the descendants of a race were in danger, there was a small chance that the bloodline brand would be activated and save them. This was what Lin Feng had encountered. The probability of the bloodline brand being activated was usually less than 1%, so it depended on luck. Lin Feng's luck was very good. I can't describe that race. Even though I've met them before, I don't know their origin, so there are many things I can't tell you. Perhaps as your cultivation gradually increases, you'll be able to uncover their secrets. Didn't you say that your mother was suppressed by the 9 heavens god burying coffin in the depths of the starry sky world? Since you saved your mother, perhaps you can learn something about that race from her, the Demon Lord said. Lin Feng did not ask any more questions. Perhaps it was just as the Demon Lord had said, and he knew nothing about that race. However, it was also possible that the Demon Lord did not want to tell Lin Feng what he knew. No matter what the reason was, Lin Feng could not get the answer he wanted from the Demon Lord. Since that was the case, he might as well not ask about these things. Little Moon fell asleep, and Lin Feng covered her with the blanket. Then he walked out of the room. How is Little Moon? Princess Shui Yao, Elder Jean, and the others asked anxiously. I've already condensed the frost pearl. I'm fine now, Lin Feng said. That's great. Even if we die in the future, we'll be able to face Great Emperor Tai Qing. Elder Jean sighed. Perhaps he thought of Granny Chu Yun, who had died tragically, and his expression was very sad. Lin Feng said, There's something else that I need to talk to you about alone. Many people stayed outside. Lin Feng, Princess Shui Yao, Elder Jean, and Jin Xingyuan went to a guest room. Is Little Moon's body not in a good condition? Jin Xingyuan asked worriedly. He liked Little Moon very much, and their race had a very close relationship with Great Emperor Tai Qing. She's doing very well, but Great Emperor Tai Qing's saint fetus is sealed in the depths of Little Moon's dantian, Lin Feng said. Apart from Jin Xingyuan, Princess Shui Yao and Elder Jean looked very calm. Lin Feng smiled wryly. It seems that the two of you already know, Princess Shui Yao said. We do know about this. Great Emperor Tai Qing's saint fetus is passed down from generation to generation. It can only be fused into the dantian of his descendants. Once his descendants die out, the saint fetus will also die. Lin Feng nodded. After chatting with them for a while, he left and returned to his room. He set up a restriction to protect his room and then went into seclusion. That was because he had obtained a drop of origin blood. This drop of origin blood was too precious, and Lin Feng wanted to quickly refine it to increase his cultivation. Little Moon is fine. Grandma Chu Yun and the others can rest in peace. Jin Xingyuan sighed with a lonely expression. When Jin Xingyuan was young, he had lived with Grandma Chu Yun for a period of time. Her death had made him very sad. My devil race has to take revenge for Grandma Chu Yun. Elder Jean clenched his teeth. Princess Shui Yao said, The southern continent's humans have gone too far this time. If my devil race continues to tolerate them, there will be no place for my devil race in the Tianwu continent in the future. Lin Feng didn't know about Princess Shui Yao and Elder Jin's plan. The southern continent's 1 sect and 3 palaces had indeed gone too far. The 1 sect and 3 palaces were now at odds with Lin Feng. These 4 forces were unscrupulous and heartless for the sake of benefits. Lin Feng didn't have the slightest good impression of them. Of course, Lin Feng's energy was currently focused on refining the origin blood of the Demon Emperor's sacred embryo. He began to refine the drop of origin blood. Lin Feng was too powerful, so it was very difficult for him to break through. However, Lin Feng felt that this drop of origin blood might be able to help him break through. Under the refinement of the immemorial dragonesque elephant art, the origin blood gradually turned into pure energy that fused into Lin Feng's body and was gradually devoured by Lin Feng. Waves of energy that were as vast as the sea of smoke flowed through his limbs and bones. In the end, all the energy turned into the purest form of magic power. The magic power was like a sea. When it circulated, it produced a rumbling sound. It was as if the sea was surging into the sky, shaking all directions. After circulating 36 cycles in his body, all the magic power gathered together. Lin Feng began to break through to the 5th layer of the creation realm. The long river of magic power surged in Lin Feng's meridians. Again and again, it attacked Lin Feng's realm barrier. Lin Feng was only at the 4th layer of the creation realm, but he could already defeat experts at the 3rd or 4th layer of the life and death realm. It could be seen how terrifying his accumulation was. Every time he broke through, Lin Feng's strength would increase by leaps and bounds. However, every breakthrough was extremely difficult. Fortunately, the Demon Emperor's sacred embryo's origin blood was powerful enough this time. Lin Feng refined a portion of the divine origin, a portion of the primordial demon liquid, and a portion of the galaxy divine liquid. They increased his undying bloodline, magic power, and soul respectively. Lin Feng's undying bloodline purity had reached 22%. This made Lin Feng very happy. Although the undying bloodline's improvement was very slow, it was still improving. As for Lin Feng's soul power, it had reached the 2nd layer of the life and death realm. Lin Feng's own magic power was becoming purer and purer. Although Lin Feng was only at the 4th heavenly layer of the fortune realm, he felt that the purity of his magic power was even purer than that of cultivators at the 4th or 5th heavenly layer of the life and death realm. Boom. Finally, the long river of magic power in Lin Feng's body seemed to have broken through the barrier. The torrential river swept through heaven and earth, and an even more majestic magic power surged out. I've finally broken through to the 5th layer of the creation realm. Lin Feng circulated his magic power, and all the magic power gathered in his dantian. In his dantian, golden light soared into the sky and gathered into a vast ocean. This was a sea of magic power, and one couldn't see the end of it. Chapter 1052. The sun was shining brightly. Lin Feng was lying on a grassy plain. Not far away, Little Moon was chasing after Bibi and Little White as they ran happily. "Little Bunny, don't run! Bibi, don't run!" Little Moon shouted as it chased after them, its voice full of innocence. When they were finally tired from running, Bibi and Little White returned to Lin Feng's side. Little Moon also lay in Lin Feng's arms to rest. Bibi waved its little paw, and a spirit fruit appeared in its hand. It grabbed the spirit fruit and began to chew on it. She stared at the Little Moon with her big black eyes. "A dragon rabbit and an unknown little beast!" Princess Shuiyao was shocked. Dragon rabbits were very rare, and this was her first time seeing one. As for Bibi's race, she didn't know. Princess Shuiyao looked at Elder Jean and asked, "Elder, do you know the origin of that little beast? I've never heard of such a race. However, the world is so big, so nobody knows how many races there are," Elder Jean said. Princess Shuiyao nodded, but her beautiful eyes continued to stare at Bei Bei, revealing a thoughtful expression. At night, Lin Feng was comprehending the contents of the ice dragon bone. He imprinted all the runes on it, and deciphered the information contained within. Lin Feng obtained a divine ability called Icebound Worlds. This was one of the strongest divine abilities of the ice dragon race. The inheritance of the dragon race is naturally no small matter. This Icebound Worlds is probably even more powerful than many primordial divine abilities. Lin Feng smiled. Every primordial divine ability, one of the 3,000 great Das, or Emperor techniques, could greatly increase one's cultivation. A divine ability of this level was enough to establish an ancient sect. Lin Feng basically didn't want to cultivate divine abilities below the primordial divine ability level. If he wanted to cultivate, he would cultivate the strongest divine abilities. Because Lin Feng cultivated the Great Ice Technique, he had a deeper understanding of the Tao of Ice. Thus, it was much easier for him to cultivate the icebound worlds. This was the 3,000 Great Taos. Each of the 3,000 Great Taos was the ultimate evolution of a certain Tao. As long as he successfully cultivated the 3,000 Great Taos. In that case, he would soon be able to grasp the subtleties of the various divine abilities contained in this Great Tao. For example, Lin Feng had already mastered the Great Death Technique. Then, if Lin Feng also obtained Death Qi, such as the Death Fist, the Death Battle Song, and so on, he would be able to master them quickly. The Tao of Frost was the same. The Ice Seal All Worlds was a Tao of Frost. Lin Feng, who had mastered the Great Ice Art, was naturally able to cultivate it with twice the result with half the effort. In just 3 days, Lin Feng had already cultivated the Ice Seal All Worlds, a great divine ability of the Dragon Clan, to the realm of great success. Brother Feng, it would be a pity if you didn't go to the Sacred Ancestors' Enlightenment Ground. I already told Elder Jean about it, and he agreed to open the Sacred Ancestors' Enlightenment Ground for you to cultivate, said Lin Feng. Jin Xingyuan came to Lin Feng and said, "The Sacred Ancestors' Place of Enlightenment? What kind of place is that?" Lin Feng was puzzled. However, based on the name, it should be an extraordinary place. Jin Xingyuan smiled and said, "Brother Feng, do you know the origins of our clan? I'd like to hear the details." Lin Feng asked. Jin Xingyuan said, "Brother Feng, you must have heard of the story of the peacock swallowing the Buddha Lord. Afterward, the Buddha Lord broke free from the body of the peacock and gave the peacock the title of Mahamayuri Bodhisattva, right?" Lin Feng nodded. "Yes, I've heard of it. The peacock had a younger brother who was called the Golden-Winged Great Rock King. The Golden-Winged Great Rock King was the ancestor of our clan," Jin Xingyuan said. Lin Feng couldn't help but gasp. Jin Xingyuan's clan had a great origin. The Great Rock clan naturally had many branches, but the most respected was Jin Xingyuan's clan. Their ancestor was too powerful. The Golden-Winged Great Rock King was one of the strongest great emperors of the Yao clan. Lin Feng's heart shook. "I've heard that the Great Rock King and the Great Rock King were known as the two peerless geniuses of the Yao clan. Could the Great Rock King be the descendant of the Mahamayuri Bodhisattva?" "Yes." Jin Xingyuan nodded. Lin Feng said, "I never thought that so many myths and legends would be true." Jin Xingyuan said, "Many myths and legends aren't groundless. They have a basis. Of course, there are also many myths and legends that have been fabricated by others. It's hard to tell which is true and which is false." "That's true. Because there are so many fake stories, a lot of real things are treated as stories," said Lin Feng. Lin Feng sighed. The next day, Lin Feng followed Jin Xingyuan to the Sacred Ancestors' Enlightenment Ground. The Sacred Ancestors' Enlightenment Ground was the holy land of the Great Rocks. It wasn't located in the Yao clan's territory. Instead, it was connected to the Sacred Ancestors' Enlightenment Ground through a space-time teleportation array. They entered the teleportation array and were transported to the Sacred Ancestors' Enlightenment Ground. Lin Feng followed Jin Xingyuan to a valley. There was a small teleportation array there. It was the teleportation array to the Sacred Ancestors' Enlightenment Ground. Many bestial beasts have arrived, and some of their elders have come as well. Maybe some people will go to the Holy Ancestors' Enlightenment Land, but Brother Feng, don't pay attention to them, just focus on your own cultivation." Lin Feng nodded. He had vaguely heard that Princess Shui Yao and Elder Jean wanted to avenge Grandmother Chu Yun and the others. It seemed that many Yao clan members would respond. Jin Xingyuan's expression darkened. Some people have come with ulterior motives. They're extremely hateful. However, due to the relationship between the various Yao clans, it's inconvenient to say anything. "What ulterior motives?" Lin Feng asked. "The Yao clan's holy embryo in the little princess's body. Some people are eyeing the holy embryo's origin blood. Jin Xingyuan smiled icily. Lin Feng frowned slightly. It seemed that many beasts who had come to the territory of the Great Rock King clan had ulterior motives. Naturally, some people really wanted to avenge Grandmother Chu Yun and the others, but most of them, as Jin Xingyuan had said, wanted the original blood of the imperial beast Holy Embryo. After Jin Xingyuan left, Lin Feng entered a teleportation portal. Lights flashed and a moment later, he appeared in a gigantic cave. This cave was very large, about 100 acres in size. On the rock walls, there were many murals. These murals were very complete. There were murals of the demon race's cultivation, but there were more murals of Buddhism. Could it be that the great golden-winged rock king created those murals? I've heard that he spent a lot of time in the Buddhist world. It seems that he has a deep understanding of Buddhism. Lin Feng scratched his chin thoughtfully. He found a place to practice cultivation and took out a 9-colored stone. Holding the 9-colored stone, Lin Feng quickly entered a meditative state. 3 days later, more than 10 Yao clan members entered the Holy Ancestors' enlightenment ground. When they saw Lin Feng sitting cross-legged and practicing cultivation, they didn't pay attention to him. As they were about to leave, one of the Yao clan's young geniuses pointed at the 9-colored stone in Lin Feng's hand. He was astonished. That little boy is holding a 9-colored stone. Oh my God, such a treasure really exists. Many young geniuses of the Beast clan looked at the golden stone in Lin Feng's hand and looked at it greedily. Chapter 1053. Brat, wake up! A supreme talent stepped out and bellowed in a deep voice. Lin Feng, who had been cultivating, was startled awake. When he saw these people, his face sank. You disturbed my cultivation? Kneel on the ground and apologize. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. He was a strong person to begin with. Moreover, his strength had already surpassed many ancient giants. A mere junior from the demon race dared to disturb his cultivation? If it weren't for the fact that he had to give the great Pink King some face, this person would have died long ago. The young genius from the demon race thought that he had misheard. He looked at Lin Feng in disbelief and said coldly, Brat, do you know what you're saying? Said Lin Feng. You're acting recklessly. Do you want to show off your status in front of me? Unfortunately, you're showing off to the wrong person. I won't fall for it. Lin Feng took a step forward and arrived in front of the young genius in an instant, slapping him with his palm. You're courting death, shouted the young genius furiously. He raised his right hand and threw a punch at Lin Feng. Bang! The two sides collided, and the young genius felt as if he had been struck by lightning. With a crack, his arm broke. His legs went soft, and he fell to his knees. Ah! My arm! How dare you break my arm? How dare you make me kneel on the ground? Do you know who I am? The young demon race prodigy roared furiously. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent as he kicked the young genius dozens of meters away. Pooh! In midair, the young genius spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground, unconscious. You're finally a little more awake, Lin Feng said indifferently. Brat, aren't you a little too ruthless? Another genius from the demon race said gloomily. You disturbed my cultivation, and you dare say that I'm ruthless? Who do you think you are? How dare you spout nonsense here? Lin Feng put his hands behind his back and looked at the other party with an indifferent expression. I am the young master of the Southern Sea's Blood Eagle Island, Lu Chang. How dare you treat me so rudely? Have you thought of the consequences? Blood Eagle Island? What kind of power was this? He had never heard of it before. It should be an unranked force, right? You have the nerve to bring out a mediocre faction? How shameless! Don't you feel ashamed? Lin Feng curled his lips and said with disdain. Brat, you dare to humiliate me like this? Today, I'll teach you a lesson. Lu Chang's face darkened. Demonic chi surged, and he was about to attack. Brother Lu, wait! Suddenly, a young cultivator in blue clothes said in a deep voice. This person clearly had some prestige, so when he spoke, the cultivator called Lu Chang stopped. Brother Xie, why are you stopping me? Lu Chang asked. The cultivator had a slender figure and was very handsome, but his long and narrow eyes made him look gloomy. He was called Xiaoyu, and his race was not simple. He was a three-headed cobra. Cobras were the most poisonous snake race. They hid in the dark and attacked their enemies with fatal attacks. The three-headed cobras were the royal cobra race, and they had long since become part of the devil race. Naturally, this race had the characteristics of a cobra. They were tolerant, bloodthirsty, cold, and merciless. Among the devil race, the three-headed cobra race could be said to be one of the top devil races. Even the human race would not easily offend this terrifying race. Xiaoyu was from the three-headed cobra race, so he had some prestige among the younger generation. Since you're a guest of the great Peking clan, you should restrain yourself. Lu Chang frowned slightly, but he did not refute. Xiaoyu looked at Lin Feng, bowed hand over fist and said, My friend didn't understand anything and disturbed your cultivation. I apologize on his behalf, said Xiaoyu, bowing hand over fist. Lin Feng said indifferently, There's no need to apologize. That guy has already received his due punishment. Xiaoyu asked with a fake smile, Brother, is that a 9-colored illusory stone in your hand? Lin Feng nodded and said, That's right. It is indeed a 9-colored illusory stone. I plan to use a treasure to exchange for it. What do you think? Xiaoyu said with a smile. We'll have to see what kind of treasure you can take out. Lin Feng said indifferently. He still had 31 9-colored illusory stones, so he did not mind taking out a few to trade. Brother, I'll naturally be satisfied with what I can take out. As soon as he finished speaking, Xiaoyu's hand flashed, and he took out a purple crystal. Purple cloud crystal. It can be used to forge high-grade Dao treasures. I'll trade it for your 9-colored illusory stone, Xiaoyu said. It's just a purple cloud crystal. It's worth at most 500,000 top-grade spirit stones. If I auction this 9-colored illusory stone, it can be sold for at least 50 million top-grade spirit stones. Do you think it's possible to trade something worth 50 million top-grade spirit stones for something worth 50 million top-grade spirit stones? Lin Feng looked indifferent. When he saw what Xiaoyu had taken out, he knew that Xiaoyu was not being sincere. The thing is not important. Give me the 9-colored illusory stone and I'll remember you. Consider it a friendship, Xiaoyu said with an arrogant expression. It was as if the fact that Lin Feng could make Xiaoyu remember him was because Lin Feng had cultivated in his previous life. Lin Feng was speechless at Xiaoyu's arrogance. He had seen too many people like that. They thought that they were from a good family, and did everything as if it was only natural. They looked down on others. Lin Feng was disgusted by Xiaoyu. He said indifferently, If you don't have anything of value, let's end the deal here. When Xiaoyu heard Lin Feng, his face darkened. He said, You don't want to be friends with me? Put away that arrogant face of yours. Who do you think you are? You want to use the excuse of being friends to steal my 9-colored illusory stone? Do you think I'm a fool? You think too highly of yourself. I guess your status in the three-headed Cobra clan isn't very high, right? You're acting all high and mighty outside. What a joke. Lin Feng pursed his lips. Boy, do you know that you've just infuriated me? Do you know the price of infuriating me? Xiaoyu squinted his eyes, which were filled with coldness. There's no lack of self-righteous people in this world. Lin Feng raised his eyebrows. Teach this reckless guy a lesson. Xiaoyu's face darkened. He didn't hide his viciousness anymore. Yes. 2 bestial cultivators jumped out and threw punches at Lin Feng, one on his left and one on his right. Those people were looking at Lin Feng in a cold and detached way. In their opinion, Lin Feng had dared offend Xiaoyu, so he definitely wouldn't have a happy ending. Chapter 1054. The 2 geniuses weren't weak. They were at the 6th sky of the yin-yang layer, but they couldn't compare to Lin Feng. Facing their attacks, Lin Feng looked indifferent and exhaled. His breath was like a sword. Swoosh, swoosh. 2 rays of sword chi flew out. Slash. Slash. In an instant, the 2 geniuses' bodies were pierced through. They flew backwards and fell to the ground, screaming in agony. If we were outside, you'd be dead already. Today, I'm sparing your worthless lives because of King Zhanping. Lin Feng clasped his hands behind his back. He looked indifferent. Brother Xie, he's too cruel. The other young geniuses of the Beast clan were astonished. Lin Feng had attacked twice, and he had easily injured them. He had proved how strong he was. The demon race geniuses' expressions turned serious. Not all of them followed Xia Wuyu's lead. Immediately, 6 or 7 demon race geniuses stepped back to show their attitude. They didn't want to get involved in this battle. Maybe they were greedy for Lin Feng's 9-colored illusory stone, but they knew their limits. They knew when to advance and when to retreat. Xia Wuyu looked gloomy as he said, Little boy, I underestimated you. Today, I'll personally capture you and avenge my injured brothers. As soon as he finished speaking, Xia Wuyu leaped out. 1,000 poisonous hands! Xia Wuyu stretched out his hands and clenched his fingers together. He looked like a cobra with its forked tongue ready to strike. Countless hands appeared in the air. Those hands turned into poisonous snakes and spat out poisonous fog. Then, they turned back into hands and attacked Lin Feng. That kind of magical ability was extremely strange. The 3-headed cobra's attacks are poisonous. That 1,000 poisonous hands is obviously poisonous as well. Once the poison invades your body, your spiritual energy will disperse. A demon prodigy who had retreated from the battle said solemnly. The other demon prodigies who had retreated with him nodded in agreement. That little brat won't be able to block Brother Xie's 1,000 poisonous hands. Wait until Brother Xie defeats that little brat. Let's see how we'll deal with him. Dealing with him is secondary. The most important thing is to get his treasures, said Lu Chang and the others in an evil way. Their goal was clear. They wanted to steal Lin Feng's treasures. That kind of thing was very common in the world of cultivators. Strength was everything. When people saw treasures, they would try to steal them without any scruples. That kind of thing happened all the time. Little brat, it's time, said Xia Wuyu smiling coldly. He was extremely confident in his 1,000 poisonous hands. His 1,000 poisonous hands was about to reach Lin Feng. Swoosh. Suddenly, Lin Feng disappeared without a trace. Where is he? Xia Wuyu's face. To the... Lu Chang and the others exclaimed. Xia Wuyu was shocked and turned his head to look. Lin Feng raised his right foot and threw a kick at him. Bang! The kick landed on Xia Wuyu's buttocks. Xia Wuyu felt as if his buttocks had been split open. He fell to the ground and his forehead hit the ground. Blood flowed out of his forehead. This is called buttocks falling down wild goose style, said Lin Feng. I'm going to kill you! Xia Wuyu had never been humiliated like that before. He looked like he was going insane. He stood up and threw himself at Lin Feng. But Lin Feng had already arrived beside Xia Wuyu. He raised his right foot and kicked Xia Wuyu hard. Xia Wuyu didn't even have the chance to fight back. Lin Feng's kick landed heavily on Xia Wuyu's body. The sound of bones breaking was heard. Xia Wuyu didn't know how many bones had been broken by Lin Feng's kick. Wah! Xia Wuyu spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was as pale as a sheet of paper. He fell to the ground and howled in pain. Lin Feng stepped on Xia Wuyu's face and said disdainfully, A piece of trash like you dares to cause trouble for me? I really don't know who gave you the guts. Isn't he a little too strong? The geniuses who had retreated swallowed their saliva. They were glad that they had made the right decision. They hadn't expected Lin Feng to be so strong. In this world where the strong were respected, Xia Wuyu had dared to provoke Lin Feng. Even if he was killed, he could only admit that he was unlucky. Lu Chang and the others were so scared that their faces turned pale. Lu Chang slapped his own face and looked at Lin Feng pleadingly. I didn't recognize Mount Tai just now. I'm sorry for offending you. Brother, please be magnanimous and forgive me. The others also slapped their own faces and begged Lin Feng to let them go. Now that they knew that Lin Feng wasn't someone to be trifled with, how could they still dare to fight with Lin Feng? Apologizing like this was embarrassing, but it was better than being beaten half to death, right? Some of the geniuses don't fear death to protect others. They're even willing to sacrifice their own lives. But there are also shameless people like you. Take this guy and get lost. Don't let me see you again. Lin Feng kicked Xiaoyu dozens of meters away. Let's go now. Lu Chang and the others quickly left with Xiaoyu and the other injured geniuses. We won't disturb this brother's cultivation any longer. The other demon race prodigies didn't know Lin Feng's temperament, and didn't know if they would upset Lin Feng by staying here to cultivate. They cupped their fists and chose to leave as well. Soon, Lin Feng was the only one left in the sacred ancestors' Tao enlightenment ground. It seems that the devil race is the same as the human race. Lin Feng shook his head slightly. The demons he had met in the past were all unyielding and would rather die than submit. This gave Lin Feng the illusion that the Yao clan were all like this. It was only now that he realized how wrong his previous understanding of the situation was. Lin Feng didn't care about Xiaoyu and the others. They were just a bunch of small fries. He continued sitting cross-legged, holding the 9-colored stone. The 9-colored godly light enveloped Lin Feng. Under the influence of the 9-colored godly light, Lin Feng quickly entered a mysterious state of enlightenment. Suddenly, Lin Feng had an epiphany. He had the feeling that he had arrived in a mysterious world. In that world, there was a great rock. The great rock flapped its wings and flew up into the sky. It could travel freely through space. Lin Feng also flapped his golden wings and followed the great rock. He didn't know how long they flew, but Lin Feng felt like he had become a great rock. He could travel freely through space. When Lin Feng opened his eyes, Lin Feng was pleasantly surprised. He stood up and took a step forwards. Surprisingly, he disappeared. A moment later, Lin Feng appeared a few dozen meters away in the air. Chapter 1055. Lin Feng had refined 9 archaic sacred emperor clones. Among them, the archaic golden-winged Great Pink King had given Lin Feng 3 abilities. The first stage, Golden Wings. The second stage, Void Travel. The third stage, Wings of the World. There were 2 ways to advance. The first was to find the archaic golden-winged Great Pink King's original spirit and refine it. The second was to comprehend it himself. The first method was the simplest, but also the most difficult. Finding the archaic golden-winged Great Pink King's original spirit was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. The second method was even more difficult. It required luck and comprehension. Lin Feng had finally obtained a fortuitous encounter in the sacred ancestors' Tao enlightenment grounds. Coupled with his comprehension, he'd successfully cultivated to the void travel realm. He could travel between different voids. This was an extremely heaven-defying ability. Not only could this greatly increase Lin Feng's speed, but it could also allow him to use this technique in a battle against cultivators. Lin Feng left the sacred ancestors' Tao enlightenment grounds and returned. Many demon experts had come to the Great Pink King's territory during this time. Naturally, many young geniuses had come as well. Just as Jin Xingyuan had said, some of these people had come to avenge the tragic deaths of Granny Chu Yun and the others. However, even more people had their eyes on the sacred fetus in Little Moon's body. Ordinary demon cultivators might not know about the sacred fetus in Little Moon's body, but the higher-ups of the demon race definitely knew. The sect in 3 palaces had mobilized thousands of experts to kill Emperor Taiching's people and capture Little Moon. What was the point of such a big fuss? It wasn't just for Little Moon. It was also for the sacred fetus in Little Moon's dantian. It turned out that Little Moon had Granny Chu Yun's protection, so the various demon factions wouldn't go too far. Granny Chu Yun was already dead. Little Moon was alone and without anyone to rely on. The greedy hearts of these demon factions began to stir. Once a person's greed was born, it was almost impossible to restrain it. Hurry up and run! The imps are coming! In the distant forest, more than 10 young geniuses of the demon clan ran towards Lin Feng, crying and wailing. What happened? Lin Feng stopped one of them and asked. Little fiend, that little fiend is here! Run! The other party shouted, pushing Lin Feng aside and hurriedly rushing off into the distance. Rumble! Rumble! The earth trembled, and Lin Feng felt a shadow looming over him. He raised his head and saw a gigantic creature that was 4,000 to 5,000 meters tall. It was even taller than a mountain peak and had 3 ferocious heads. Its cold eyes were staring at him. Cerberus! It turned out to be the legendary hell beast, the Cerberus. Moreover, its body was so huge that it was really shocking. Actually, this wasn't the first time Lin Feng had seen the Cerberus. Back then, he had explored the Eternal Temple with Long Yushi. Long Yushi had a pet like the Cerberus. He quickly dodged to the left, and the Cerberus attack missed. Big Black, beat him to death! A beautiful female cultivator in white clothes standing on the Cerberus' head shouted excitedly when she saw Lin Feng dodge. Lin Feng was startled. Although he hadn't seen her for almost 10 years, he could still see the shadow of the strange girl from back then. Wasn't this Long Yushi? The Cerberus' 3 heads roared and swung its huge claws at Lin Feng again. In the distance, more than 10 geniuses of the demon clan saw this and were moved to tears. What a good person! He helped us attract the attention of the little fiend. Brother, you have to hold on a little longer. If you're unlucky enough to be eaten by the Cerberus, we'll burn more paper money for you. The geniuses of the demon clan didn't dare stay and hurriedly left. The Cerberus attack missed again. Lin Feng disappeared without a trace. Huh! Where did he go? Long Yushi's eyes widened with a look of incomparable shock. The next moment, she felt her tiny waist being hugged from behind. Ah, you bastard! You're courting death! You bastard! How dare you take advantage of me? Do you believe that I won't castrate you? Long Yushi immediately struggled. At the same time, her heart was in turmoil. Even with her cultivation, she didn't know how that guy had managed to get behind her. This shouldn't be happening. Long Yushi couldn't figure it out. Lin Feng held Long Yushi with one hand so that she couldn't move. His other hand pinched Long Yushi's delicate face and twisted her head. Long Yushi pouted her pink lips. She looked quite cute. After so many years, your personality hasn't changed at all. Lin Feng smiled at Long Yushi. Who are you? Do I know you? Let go of me, or you'll regret being born in this world. Long Yushi shouted fiercely. Take a closer look at who I am, Lin Feng said. Long Yushi stared at Lin Feng with her mischievous eyes and suddenly shouted. Lin Feng, why are you here? Long Yushi was shocked and pleasantly surprised. Lin Feng said. After so many years, your body has developed quite well. Long Yushi's soft breasts were pressed against Lin Feng's chest, so Lin Feng could clearly feel that compared to many years ago, her body was naturally very attractive. Long Yushi blushed, then regained her fierce look and said, Let go of me, or don't blame me for being impolite. You're in my hands, and you still dare to threaten me? Do you really think that I won't dare to teach you a lesson? Looking at Long Yushi's tender red lips, Lin Feng lowered his head. Asterisk woo-woo. Asterisk Long Yushi's eyes widened in disbelief. Haha, the fragrance is everywhere. Lin Feng tasted it, then flew away. Lin Feng, you bastard, I won't let you be a man. Long Yushi wiped her mouth, as if she wanted to wipe off Lin Feng's breath. Big Black, hurry up and chase him, shouted Long Yushi fiercely. The Cerberus roared and quickly chased after them. At that moment, in the Great Hall of the Great Rocks, all the strong cultivators of the Yao clan were gathered. They were discussing how to deal with the holy imperial embryo in Little Moon's Dantian. Xie Zichen, the great elder of the 3-headed cobra race, said with a fake smile, The little princess is still young. She can't protect the sacred fetus. We're taking it out for the sake of the little princess's safety. What do you all think? Said Mr. Jean. The little princess hasn't cultivated yet. If we forcibly take the holy imperial embryo out of her dantian, the little princess might die. I can't agree to that. said Shwedingchio, the great elder of the sky-devouring demon toad. Elder Jean, the little princess isn't from the great rocks. You don't have the right to decide whether or not we can take the holy imperial embryo out of her dantian. We'll vote. The minority obeys the majority. Chapter 1056. I've known Grandmother Chuyun for more than 8,000 years. Before she died, she asked me to take care of the little princess. Do you think I have the right to decide whether or not to take the little princess's holy embryo? Said Elder Jean coldly. Shwedingchio didn't buy it. He put on a fake smile and said, Who can prove that you're telling the truth? Elder Jin's face suddenly darkened, and he said, Do you think this old man would lie? I think I still care about my reputation. Xie laughed strangely and said, We didn't say you were lying. However, even if you're telling the truth, it's hard to know what's in a person's heart. Who knows whether or not you'll take the holy embryo for yourself after we leave? Xie, this is the territory of the Great Ping clan. If you keep talking like that, please leave. The Great Ping clan doesn't welcome three-headed cobras, said Elder Jean angrily. Xie words had infuriated Elder Jean. He couldn't bear it anymore. Elder Jean, why get angry? I was just making an example. Xie pursed his lips. What do you all think? Elder Jean gloomily looked at the experts of the other factions. Many chose to remain silent. Elder Jin's heart sank. He said sadly, Do you still remember the kindness Emperor Taiqing showed to the various clans? Now that you're choosing to remain silent, aren't you letting your conscience down? Aren't you letting Emperor Taiqing down? Someone sneered. What was conscience to most people? Practical benefits were what everyone pursued. There are still a few clans coming. Let's wait for them to arrive and then we'll talk. Princess Shuiyao walked over. Greetings, Princess. The experts of the various clans stood up and bowed slightly. They were both princesses, but Little Moon's status couldn't compare to Shuiyao's. Firstly, Little Moon was too young and didn't cultivate. Secondly, Emperor Taiqing's clan had declined. Lastly, Little Moon no longer had a protector. Princess Shuiyao was different. Although the Phoenix clan didn't have many people, they didn't lack experts in every generation. Princess Shuiyao's strength was unfathomable. Everyone, please dispense with the formalities, Princess Shuiyao said. Shwedingchio's expression was somewhat gloomy as he said, Since the princess has spoken, we'll wait for the other clans to arrive before discussing this matter. We'll take our leave first. The experts of these forces left one after another. After everybody left, Mr. Jean said gloomily, It seems like those people want to steal the little princess' imperial fetus. People's hearts are unfathomable. All the influential groups are blinded by greed. They want to steal Little Moon's holy imperial embryo, so let's beat them at their own game. Princess Shuiyao sneered. Princess, what do you mean? Elder Jean looked at Princess Shuiyao. Princess Shuiyao smiled and said, Elder Jean, you'll know in a few more days. After Lin Feng returned, he went to see Little Moon first. When Little Moon saw that Lin Feng had returned, her big eyes immediately turned into crescent moons. She quickly ran over to Lin Feng and reached out her little hands into Lin Feng's embrace. Big brother, where did you go? Little Moon misses Big brother. Little Moon said pitifully. Lin Feng rubbed Little Moon's head and said, Big brother went to cultivate. Big brother needs to become very strong to be able to protect Little Moon. Then can Little Moon cultivate? Little Moon also needs to become very strong because Little Moon wants to protect Big brother. I don't want bad people to bully Big brother. Little Moon said innocently. Lin Feng said, Of course Little Moon can cultivate. After a few days, Little Moon can go find Big Sister Shuiyao and ask her to teach you how to cultivate, okay? Little Moon nodded heavily. Dozens of cultivators flew over from the distance and stopped nearby. They pointed at Little Moon and whispered among themselves. Their gazes were cold as they looked at Little Moon. Big brother, Little Moon is scared. Although Little Moon was young, she was very sensitive to the outside world. She could feel that the people around her were looking at her with ill intentions, which made her feel afraid. Big Brother is here. Don't be afraid. Lin Feng took Little Moon in his arms and walked towards the courtyard. Stop. Suddenly a cold laugh was heard. Lin Feng turned around and saw a young cultivator in a black robe walking over. He asked indifferently, What's the matter? Are you a human cultivator? The black-robed cultivator asked. Yes, Lin Feng said. A human actually came to the territory of the beasts? You look like a human spy. The black-robed cultivator sneered. Lin Feng's expression suddenly sank. At that moment, Long Yushi flew over from afar. She was holding a miniature Cerberus that had shrunk to the size of a palm. Shuedong Long, don't talk nonsense here. The little princess was able to return to the territory of the beasts alive thanks to Lin Feng. The black-robed cultivator called Shuedong Long was a young genius of the heaven-devouring demonic toad clan. His strength was outstanding. The heaven-devouring demonic toad clan had an important position among the beasts. Shuedong Long sneered. Are the members of the clan in 3 prefectures all trash? How could they let him escape with the little princess? It's obvious that there's something we don't know about. Who would believe that he's not a spy? After saying that, Shuedong Long looked at the surrounding Yao cultivators and asked, Do you believe me? Of course not. This kid is very suspicious. I don't know what he's up to when he sneaked into the territory of the beasts. The group of beasts began to talk at once. Lin Feng curled his lips and said sarcastically, I was wondering why this place was so smelly. It turns out that someone was farting here. It's really smelly. Kid, what did you say? The group of beasts glared angrily at Lin Feng. Shuedong Long, in particular, was of noble birth. The heaven-devouring demonic toad clan was equivalent to the royal family of the beasts. When he heard Lin Feng's words, he naturally felt that his dignity was being challenged. You don't understand human language? It seems that I was wrong. It's not a group of humans farting, but a group of dogs farting, Lin Feng said seriously. Pfft. Long Yushi immediately laughed. She admired Lin Feng's ability to mock others. Shuedong Long and the others' gloomy faces were enough to know how angry they were. However, Long Yushi was also worried about Lin Feng. There was no lack of experts among Shuedong Long and the others. Shuedong Long, in particular, was a powerhouse at the 5th level of the creation realm. Moreover, the heaven-devouring demonic toad clan's inheritance was extremely powerful. Now that Lin Feng had angered Shuedong Long and the others, he probably wouldn't have a good ending. Chapter 1057. Shuedong Long and the others were furious after being mocked by Lin Feng. They glared at Lin Feng as if they wanted to tear him to shreds. A tall and sturdy beast with a ferocious face sneered and said, Brat, do you know you've committed a capital offense? How dare you mock us like this? Who gave you the guts? Kneel on the ground and apologize to us. Maybe you can keep your worthless life. Otherwise, we don't mind taking your life today. You dare attack the Rock King's territory? Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself? Do you think you have the right to be so arrogant in the Rock King's territory? Lin Feng pursed his lips. So what if it's the Rock King's territory? The law doesn't punish the majority. Do you think the Rock King's territory will offend so many organizations for a human brat like you? The Yao cultivator sneered. Lin Feng sneered and said, I really couldn't tell. I thought you were a pig with a human head. I didn't expect you to say something like the law doesn't punish the majority. It seems you're not stupid. Brat, I'm going to tear you to shreds, shouted the tall and sturdy cultivator furiously. He threw himself at Lin Feng. Yushi, help me take care of Little Moon, Lin Feng said. Be careful. He's from the giant scorpion race. They can release poison. Long Yushi hugged Little Moon and whispered to Lin Feng. Don't worry. He's just a nobody. I can deal with him easily. Lin Feng smiled. At that moment, the tall and sturdy cultivator rushed over and slapped Lin Feng. A green gas spread out from his palm. The green gas was extremely poisonous. Hurry up and retreat. Don't breathe in the poison. The group of beast cultivators quickly retreated. They were afraid of the poison released by the tall and sturdy cultivator. Whoosh! Lin Feng blew at the poisonous gas and it flew towards the beast cultivators. Brat, you're courting death! Many people roared angrily. They didn't dare to stay any longer and tried to escape in a sorry state. However, there were still a dozen people who were enveloped by the poisonous gas. Their bodies began to rot as they fell to the ground and let out miserable screams. You can't blame me for this, you can only blame the guy who poisoned you. If he didn't use the poison, you wouldn't have been poisoned. Lin Feng shrugged. Brat, you dared to be distracted while fighting me? The stalwart cultivator grinned and sent out a palm strike. However, Lin Feng blew away the poisonous gas with a single breath. However, the power of his palm was still very powerful. Seeing that the palm was about to hit Lin Feng grabbed his wrist and exerted force. Crack! The burly cultivator's wrist was broken, accompanied by the sound of bones cracking and a miserable shriek. Lin Feng raised his right foot and kicked the burly cultivator's left leg. Crack! His left leg was broken. Too weak, it really dirted my hands to clean him up. Lin Feng pursed his lips and threw the burly cultivator away like he was throwing a dead dog. The burly cultivator's head hit a rock hard. His head cracked and blood flowed out instantly. The burly cultivator didn't move at all. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. When did this guy become so powerful? Long Yushi couldn't help but mutter. Lin Feng glanced at the group of beast cultivators indifferently. Lin Feng only had coldness towards these people. It was one thing for these beasts to not be grateful for the kindness of the Taiqing Emperor, but now they actually had their eyes on Little Moon. Lin Feng treated Little Moon as his own sister. How could he let these bastards bully her? Who else wants their heads to explode? You can get out now. Lin Feng glanced at the group of beast cultivators. These people looked at Xue Donglong because Xue Donglong was the strongest among them. Moreover, Xue Donglong's background was also the noblest. Obviously, this group of people regarded Xue Donglong as their backbone. Xue Donglong sneered. Kid, you're quite capable. But do you think you can deal with so many of us by yourself? Lin Feng pursed his lips. Don't flatter yourself. Can you even be considered human? Animals know how to repay kindness, but you're heartless and unscrupulous. Just looking at you makes me feel disgusted. I have to say, your mouth is very powerful. You've successfully angered us, but your quick tongue will only bring about endless consequences. Xue Donglong sneered. He waved his hand and said, Let's attack together. If that boy dares to resist, we'll kill him. As soon as Xue Donglong gave the order, more than 20 cultivators swarmed towards Lin Feng. Their expressions were extremely cold. All sorts of powerful divine abilities were unleashed towards Lin Feng. The divine abilities gathered together, forming a river of attacks that flooded towards Lin Feng. Slash! Lin Feng's expression was indifferent as he flicked his right hand. Next, a dense sword chi shot out. Pft! Pft! The sword chi broke through the attacks of the beast cultivators and pierced through their bodies. They were all sent flying, coughing up large mouthfuls of blood. He defeated so many people with a single move? Long Yushi was shocked. Only now did she realize that Lin Feng might be much stronger than she had imagined. Devouring the heavens. At that moment, Xue Donglong made his move. A twisting whirlpool appeared and swept towards Lin Feng. The black whirlpool directly enveloped Lin Feng. Lin Feng sneered and reached out with his left hand. His left hand instantly pierced through the twisting whirlpool that Xue Donglong had created. Then, he grabbed Xue Donglong's neck and lifted him into the air like he was a little chick. Xue Donglong looked at Lin Feng in horror. He hadn't expected Lin Feng to be so strong. Kid, hurry up and let him go. Otherwise, I'll make you regret being born. Chapter 1058. Brat, you're courting death! Shouted the hook-nosed young man furiously. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. His name was Shwemushin, and he was considered one of the top figures in the heaven-devouring demonic toad clan. At that moment, Lin Feng surprisingly dared cripple Xue Donglong's cultivation in front of so many people. It was like a slap to his face. Shwemushin couldn't control his anger anymore. He glared at Lin Feng viciously. This guy is really daring. He crippled Xue Donglong just like that. Xue Donglong's status in the heaven-devouring demonic toad clan isn't high, but he's still a direct descendant of the clan. Now that he's crippled, the heaven-devouring demonic toad clan won't let this go. Of course they won't let this go, so there's going to be a good show to watch. Many of the cultivators in the crowd were discussing. The conflict here attracted more and more people. Many people surrounded them and pointed at them. I've been crippled? How can this be? My life is completely over. Xue Donglong was in despair. If a few of his bones had been broken, he could still recover, but his dantian had been crippled. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have provoked this murderous god. He regretted it so much. Xue Donglong was filled with regret, but there was no medicine for regret in this world. Lin Feng threw Xue Donglong to the side and looked at Shwemushin indifferently. I crippled his cultivation. If you want to kill me, you can do it now. Let's see if you're strong enough to kill me, said Shwemushin indifferently. Many people frowned when they saw Lin Feng's indifferent expression. Because Lin Feng's indifferent attitude made everybody wonder what was going on. Was he confident? Or was he arrogant? How could he be so casual in front of an expert like Shwemushin? The heaven-devouring demonic toad clan has a foothold in the Tianwu continent. Anyone who provokes us will die. Shwemushin stepped forward. Lin Feng raised his eyebrows and said, I'll let you know that I won't let anyone who tries to harm Little Moon. Who do you think you are? How dare he say such words? You can't protect anyone. Shwemushin took a step forward and arrived in front of Lin Feng. 1,000 rain falling stars. Shwemushin used a powerful immemorial sacred art. As a top prodigy of the heaven-devouring demonic toad race, his strength was naturally terrifying. After this sacred art was used, rain started to fall. A drop of rain, a star. Rain fell, and stars fell. One star after another smashed towards Lin Feng. Huh! What a powerful divine ability! Lin Feng was slightly shocked. In this heaven and earth, there were millions of divine arts. All sorts of powerful divine arts were like a drop of water in the vast sea. Lin Feng didn't find it strange that Shwemushin was able to grasp such a powerful divine art. Lin Feng stepped forward, and the entire world seemed to have turned into a world of ice. As soon as he used the great ice art, the falling rain was instantly frozen and suspended in midair, unable to descend again. Lin Feng tapped lightly with his right hand. Plop! The attack directly penetrated Shwemushin's body. Shwemushin looked like he was struck by lightning. He was blown away, coughing up blood in the air. His face was as pale as a sheet of paper. Clearly, he was severely injured. He defeated Shwemushin so easily? He's too strong, isn't he? Many people were shocked, and their faces were filled with shock. Shwemushin wasn't weak. He had a special bloodline. People like that could challenge geniuses who were several levels higher. One had to know that it wasn't rare for a genius to defeat an ordinary cultivator who was several levels higher than him. This was because it was all too common. The most difficult thing was for geniuses to defeat geniuses who were a few levels higher than them. And now, Lin Feng had defeated Shwemushin, who could also be considered a genius. That was the main reason why people were shocked. You actually injured me! Shwemushin shouted furiously and soared into the sky. His expression was extremely gloomy. Shwemushin had never lost so miserably in front of so many people. He felt humiliated and couldn't accept it. Shwemushin leapt into the air as a destructive shockwave burst out from his body. Terrifying auras surged out from his body. In his dantian, bloody lights intertwined. Shwemushin was urging his bloodline. The bloodline of the heaven-devouring demonic toad was called the heaven-devouring demonic blood. This bloodline possessed an extremely terrifying ability, which was plunder. It could plunder the essence of a cultivator's flesh and even their lifespan. The bloodline of the heaven-devouring demonic toad was extremely terrifying. It was also the reason why the heaven-devouring demonic toads were able to establish themselves in the continent. Normally, very few people dared to provoke the heaven-devouring demonic toads. They would rather avoid them. The heaven-devouring demonic toads could plunder continuously. They loved to plunder the bloodlines of powerful cultivators. This was because after refining the bloodline of a powerful cultivator, their strength would greatly increase. Little brat, you've awakened my bloodline, but you've also infuriated me. I'll tear you apart and plunder everything from you. I'll use your bloodline to increase my strength. After saying that, Shui Mushin rushed towards Lin Feng. His destructive chi swept in all directions, shaking space and time. A twisting vortex condensed and enveloped Lin Feng. Lin Feng, hurry up and dodge! Long Yushi shouted. Long Yushi's pretty face abruptly changed as she loudly reminded him. She knew how terrifying Shui Mushin's bloodline was. She was worried about Lin Feng. The surrounding cultivators were also paying close attention to the duel on the battlefield. Many people wondered if the battle was about to end. After all, Shui Mushin's bloodline was too strong. You can't retreat even if you want to. Confine! Shui Mushin waved his hand and a black vortex surrounded Lin Feng. Lin Feng couldn't move at all. Lin Feng was surprised. Shui Mushin's heaven-devouring demonic blood was similar to his devouring martial spirit. Of course, there was still a big difference between them. Plunder! Shui Mushin smiled coldly and started plundering Lin Feng's flesh and soul. However, he quickly realized that something was wrong because no matter how hard he tried, Lin Feng's flesh and soul didn't fly out of his body. How is that possible? Shui Mushin opened his eyes wide. Nothing is impossible. In my opinion, you're too weak, said Lin Feng indifferently. He used the ancient dragonesque elephant formula and broke Shui Mushin's constriction. Lin Feng stepped forwards and threw a punch at Shui Mushin. Kacha, kacha! His punch landed on Shui Mushin's chest, and he was blown away. His chest caved in, and he fell on the ground, motionless. No one knew if he was dead or alive. Everybody was dumbstruck. They couldn't believe their eyes. Shui Mu had awakened his special blood and Lin Feng had almost killed him in one attack. Everybody was astonished. Chapter 1059. Lin Feng stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His chi seemed to be able to swallow mountains and rivers as he coldly glanced around. Many of the beasts were startled. Nobody dared to look into Lin Feng's eyes. They could sense a domineering aura emanating from Lin Feng. He was able to fight against the 3 prefectures alone for so long and kill over 1,000 of their experts. His cultivation level is really terrifying. Perhaps only the top geniuses would be able to contend against him. Many beasts think that the little princess has no one to rely on, so they want to steal her sacred imperial fetus. But now, it seems like the little princess is very dependent on him. The demonic toad clan, the 3-headed cobra clan, and other top beasts are all eyeing the sacred imperial fetus covetously. We don't know how things are going to unfold. Let's just wait and see. Many beasts were whispering to each other. Lin Feng and Long Yushi brought Little Moon back to the courtyard. Not long after, Princess Shuiyao arrived. The beasts have gone too far, Lin Feng said with a frown when he saw Princess Shuiyao. Princess Shuiyao said, "This is how the world works. If Little Moon still had an elder alive, they wouldn't be so impudent. But even Grandmother Chu Yun died a tragic death." Lin Feng sighed. It was just as Princess Shuiyao had said. This was a world that ate people without spitting out their bones. "I plan to take Little Moon and leave," Lin Feng said. "I know you're worried about Little Moon, but do you think the beasts will let you take away the little princess who has the sacred imperial fetus? Even if I agree and Little Moon really leaves with you, will you be able to protect her? You'll be hunted down endlessly," Princess Shuiyao said. Lin Feng remained silent. It was just as Princess Shuiyao had said. With Lin Feng's current strength, he could be considered a strong cultivator, and would have no problem protecting himself on the Tianwu continent. But if he took Little Moon with him, only death would await them. Princess Shuiyao said. Just wait a little longer. Little Moon will be fine. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat, and he said, It seems like Princess Shuiyao already has an idea? Princess Shuiyao smiled and nodded, saying, I do have some ideas, but I'm still waiting for the other clans to arrive. Lin Feng handed Little Moon over to Princess Shuiyao before leaving with Long Yushi, returning to his own residence. Long Yushi looked at Lin Feng and said, Are you a freak? How did he become so powerful? Lin Feng asked. Your cultivation speed isn't slow either, right? Long Yushi was already at the 9th level of the Yin-Yang realm. Her cultivation speed wasn't slow. Moreover, Long Yushi was called Little Devil by the younger generation of the demon race. It could be seen that she spent most of her time teasing others with her pet, the Cerberus. He didn't pay much attention to his cultivation either. If Long Yushi really cultivated diligently every day like Lin Feng, his cultivation would definitely not be limited to the 9th level of the Yin-Yang realm. Perhaps she would have soared into the sky and become a manifestation realm expert. However, Long Yushi's personality was like that. Making her cultivate diligently every day was worse than killing her. Perhaps this was what people meant when they said, Everyone has their own ambitions. Long Yushi pouted and said, I'm still far from being able to compare to you. Is it because you obtained a lot of treasures? Hurry up and give me some treasures so that I can quickly increase my cultivation. Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes. This was the first time he had seen someone ask someone for treasures in such a righteous manner. However, when he thought of Long Yushi's eccentric and straightforward personality, this kind of behavior was in line with Long Yushi's usual style. Lin Feng took out a 9-colored illusory stone and handed it to Long Yushi. Long Yushi curled her lips and said, I'm asking you for treasures. Why are you giving me a broken stone? Lin Feng's mouth twitched. He said, A broken stone? Beauty, do you know how many people would fight to the death for something like this? Long Yushi snorted and said, Then what is this? A 9-colored illusory stone, Lin Feng said. What's a 9-colored illusory stone? Long Yushi had a puzzled expression. Clearly, she had never heard of an illusory stone before. Lin Feng said, Illusory stones can be used to forge magic treasures, increase cultivation speed, prevent cultivation deviation, improve a cultivator's physique, widen a cultivator's meridians, expand a cultivator's dantian, and help a cultivator enter a state of enlightenment. Illusory stones are divided into 9 colors. With each additional color, the stone becomes more precious. 9-colored illusory stones are the most precious, but they are also the rarest. There are only about 30 of them in the world, and they are priceless treasures. Since you don't want them, I'll save them. After saying that, Lin Feng moved to put away the 9-colored illusory stone. After hearing Lin Feng's explanation, Long Yushi's eyes shone brighter and brighter. When she saw that Lin Feng was about to put away the 9-colored illusory stone, she quickly reached out to grab it. Who said I don't want it? Give it back! Lin Feng held the 9-colored illusory stone in his right hand and raised it. He smiled and said, Who was the one who said it was a broken stone? Long Yushi snorted. So what if I said it? I didn't know how precious the 9-colored illusory stone was before, but now that I know, I've changed my mind. I'm now officially informing you that the 9-colored illusory stone belongs to me. Long Yushi jumped to grab the 9-colored illusory stone that Lin Feng had raised. Hee hee, I got it! Long Yushi shouted excitedly after grabbing the 9-colored illusory stone. When she landed on the ground, she staggered and fell into Lin Feng's arms. Lin Feng hugged Long Yushi's sexy body. You, let go of me! Long Yushi's body went limp and she struggled. Her face blushed, and she lowered her head, not daring to look at Lin Feng. Lin Feng's heart started to beat faster when he saw her bashful and seductive look. When Lin Feng lowered his head and wanted to taste her, Long Yushi pushed Lin Feng away and ran away, blushing. I won't let you have your way, you bad guy! Humph! After saying that, she ran out of the courtyard. Perhaps it was better to say that she was running away. Boom! An hour later, in the distance, a man wearing a black Chang Pao arrived. A terrifying chi was emerging from his body. He was walking towards Lin Feng's courtyard. Isn't that Xia Wufeng from the three-headed cobra clan? Many people were astonished. Indeed, it's him. His chi is so gloomy. Is he going to teach someone a lesson? Let's go and see. Many people exclaimed and quickly followed behind Xia Wufeng. Chapter 1060. Why did Xia Wufeng come to provoke Lin Feng? Didn't he have a conflict with the heaven-devouring demonic toad clan? The heaven-devouring demonic toad clan didn't do anything, but the three-headed cobra clan did. I'm confused, said a cultivator. Said someone at that moment. I've heard that a few days ago, Xia Wuyu from the three-headed cobra clan led a group of people to the Holy Ancestors' enlightenment ground to practice cultivation. They met Lin Feng there. Who would have thought that Lin Feng would have a 9-colored illusion stone? Xia Wuyu and the others were greedy and wanted to steal it. They had a conflict, and Xia Wuyu was beaten half to death. He's still lying on the ground and can't move, said someone at that moment. No wonder Xia Wufeng came to provoke Lin Feng. But the 9-colored stone is too precious. It's a legendary treasure. It's shocking that Lin Feng has such a treasure, said another cultivator. Xia Wufeng was extremely arrogant. He didn't put Lin Feng in his eyes at all. When he saw that Lin Feng hadn't come out, he thought that Lin Feng was afraid. He sneered and said, "Do you think that being a coward is enough? Weren't you very arrogant before? You don't even have the courage to come out now? You really disappoint me. Xia Wufeng, what are you doing here? You can't fight in the territory of the Great Rocks." Jin Xingyuan flew over and said in a low voice. Xia Wufeng said indifferently, "He injured Xia Wuyu of the three-headed cobra clan. Does he think that there's no one left in the clan who can fight him? How can the three-headed cobra clan let this matter rest? If we let this matter rest, won't the three-headed cobra clan become a laughingstock in the future?" Xia Wufeng didn't intend to leave. He insisted on attacking Lin Feng. "Brother Xia, I'm afraid that I'll have to disappoint you today. This boy is on the heaven-devouring demonic toad clan's kill list. Brother Xia, please let me deal with him." In the distance, a skinny young man was walking over. "Xue Mutian!" Many cultivators gasped when they saw him. Xue Mutian was Xue Mushin's elder brother. He was said to be in the top 10 of the younger generation of the heaven-devouring demonic toad clan. "Brother Xue, first come first serve. I'm here first, so I'll take that dog's life," said Xia Wufeng. Said Xia Wufeng. He didn't want to give Lin Feng to Xue Mutian. The main reason for that was because Lin Feng had the 9-colored illusion stone. Xia Wufeng was convinced that Lin Feng had many other precious treasures. If he had the 9-colored illusion stone, then he probably had many other precious treasures. If Xia Wufeng killed Xue Mutian, if Xue Mutian killed Lin Feng, the treasures would have nothing to do with him. Xia Wufeng obviously didn't want to let Xue Mutian kill Lin Feng. Said Xue Mutian. "This boy only injured Xia Wuyu, but not only did he injure Xue Mushin, he also crippled Xue Donglong. Your three-headed cobra clan can't compare to that. Of course, I'll be the one to kill him." Many people were dumbfounded when they saw Xia Wufeng and Xue Mutian arguing. Were they looking down on Lin Feng? Lin Feng hadn't come out yet, but they were arguing about who should kill Lin Feng. Jin Xingyuan looked gloomy. Even though he could order people to drive Xue Mushin and Xia Wufeng away, he knew that wasn't the best way to solve the problem. He went to Lin Feng's courtyard and saw Lin Feng drinking tea alone in the living room. Jin Xingyuan smiled wryly and said, "Brother Feng, you're still in the mood to drink tea at a time like this?" Lin Feng smiled and said, "It's not like the sky is falling. Why should I be in a hurry?" The two people outside are Xia Wufeng, a strong cultivator from the three-headed cobra clan, and Xue Mushin, a strong cultivator from the celestial devouring toad clan. They're extraordinary. Their blood has recovered by 50%. They're very famous among the young people. They've come with ill intentions, said Shui Mushin. Jin Xingyuan said gloomily. Big Brother Feng, how about this? I'll send you to the teleportation plaza and take you away from this place, said Lin Feng. Leaving isn't the best way to solve the problem. Besides, if I leave, I don't know what they'll do to little Yu Yang. I won't leave until I'm sure little Yu Yang is safe. But, said Jin Xingyuan. Jin Xingyuan wanted to say something, but he didn't. He knew Lin Feng's personality very well. He knew that Lin Feng was a man of his word. Therefore, Jin Xingyuan didn't say anything. We know you're in there. Come out and die. Do you want us to force you out? Said Xia Wufeng and Shui Mutian. The two of them seemed to have reached an agreement. Let's go and meet those two, said Lin Feng. Jin Xingyuan nodded helplessly and followed Lin Feng outside. The door of the courtyard opened and Lin Feng came out. He's out. Many people cried out in surprise and then became excited. Now that Lin Feng had come out, the two sides were going to fight each other. They were happy to see such a scene. It had nothing to do with them anyway. The more intense the fight, the better. What? Are you here to die too? Said Lin Feng, looking at Xia Wufeng and Shui Mutian. Many people looked at each other, admiring Lin Feng's courage. In the face of two experts, Xia Wufeng and Shui Mutian, he actually dared to provoke them. How audacious! I have to say you're arrogant, but you're also stupid, said Xia Wufeng disdainfully. Said Lin Feng indifferently. How am I arrogant? I'm just confident, said Shui Mutian with a cold smile. You can't even differentiate between confidence and arrogance. Fighting someone like you is an insult to our status. Normally, we wouldn't bother to fight with a nobody like you, but now that you've angered us, we don't mind killing you. Lin Feng shook his head. I'm afraid you don't have the ability to do that. Xia Wufeng looked at Lin Feng disdainfully. If I'm not wrong, your special bloodline should have recovered by around 22%. Our special bloodlines have recovered by more than 50%. How are you going to fight us? The more bloodlines you recover, the less powerful you are. Plus, when cultivators fight, it's not just about bloodlines. If your magic power is strong enough and your divine abilities are strong enough, you can ignore all bloodlines. Lin Feng looked indifferent. But what can you do? No matter if it's qi, blood, or spells, you're destined to be crushed by us. Brother Xia, according to our agreement, I'll fight against him. Within 10 attacks, I'll crush him like an ant, said Xia Feng. Said Shui Mutian. Xia Wufeng nodded. The two of them had reached an agreement. After killing Lin Feng, they would split the treasures on Lin Feng, but they didn't know how they would split them. Chapter 1061. Shui Mutian was extremely arrogant, and did not take Lin Feng seriously. He was at the 10th heaven of the creation realm, and was a genius who had awakened 50% of his special bloodline. His realm was higher than Lin Feng's and his bloodline had awakened more than Lin Feng's, so it was normal for him to look down on Lin Feng. Lin Feng said indifferently. There are always some people who think they're great, but in the end, they realize that their strength is nothing compared to their eloquence. You don't know what's good for you. Shui Mutian's face darkened. He took a step forward, raised his right hand and executed the Heaven and Earth Universal Seal. In an instant, a Dharma power imprint condensed in the void. That imprint descended from the sky and moved straight towards Lin Feng, oppressing him. The Dharma power imprint contained a powerful will that could suppress everything. Good fellow, Shui Mutian actually cultivated the Heaven and Earth Universal Seal to the Perfection Realm. Only when the Perfection Realm is the divine ability able to emit a will. Immediately, a cultivator exclaimed in surprise. There were 5 stages of divine ability cultivation: entry, small success, great success, perfection, and great perfection. Entry was naturally the easiest. Small success was already relatively difficult. Large success was extremely difficult. In order to cultivate to the great success, one usually needed extremely strong comprehension. As for great perfection, many times, it was not only possible to cultivate the divine ability to the great perfection realm. It required opportunity. It was even more difficult to reach the great perfection realm. Not only did it require comprehension, opportunity, and luck. Among the many divine abilities that Lin Feng had cultivated, most of them were cultivated to the great success realm. None of them were cultivated to the great perfection realm. Thus, it was obvious how difficult it was to cultivate the divine ability to the great perfection realm. Xue Mutian's heaven and earth universal seal was indeed very powerful. However, Lin Feng was even more powerful. Even if Xue Mutian cultivated the divine ability to the great perfection realm, he could not hurt Lin Feng at all. In the face of this tyrannical divine ability, Lin Feng raised his right hand and slashed out in the void. A blade radiance immediately flew out and tore apart the heaven and earth universal seal that Xue Mutian had condensed. Lin Feng slapped Xue Mutian across the void. An energy palm print condensed in the void and slapped Xue Mutian. Xue Mutian's expression. Xue Mutian was originally confident that he could suppress Lin Feng. Xue Mutian was. He was not prepared. Lin Feng. But. Xue. The divine ability he was using was called Earth Transformation River. Was. Seriously. Ordinary special bloodlines had only one ability, but the devouring demonic blood had two abilities. However, Xue Mutian did not use the ability to plunder. Instead, he used the ability to seal. He used all his strength to seal Lin Feng and let Xia Wufeng attack Lin Feng. When Lin Feng was sealed, the king of demon snakes had already pounced towards Lin Feng. Why isn't Lin Feng moving? Could it be that his movements had been completely restricted? If that's the case, he's dead! Many cultivators cried out in alarm. Xia Wufeng and Xue Mushin's joint attack was too terrifying. Many people thought that Lin Feng would not be able to escape this time. Just as the king of demon snakes was about to swallow Lin Feng raised his right hand and pressed down slightly. In an instant, the black vortex that enveloped his body and the king beast snake's body that was attacking him instantly shattered. Xue Mushin and Xia Wufeng looked as if they had been struck by lightning. A suppress word condensed in the air. This was an attack condensed by Lin Feng's great suppression art. The suppress word instantly bombarded the two of them. Plop! Plop! The two of them could not withstand it. They knelt on the ground. Heavens, he suppressed two top demon race geniuses with a raise of his hand. Who is this Lin Feng? How can he be so terrifying? The sound of people sucking in cold breaths could be heard. Countless eyes turned pale with fright as they looked at the handsome young man standing proudly in the void. Chapter 1062. Ah! How dare you humiliate us like this? You might as well kill us! Xia Wufeng and Xue Mutian's faces were twisted. They were the top geniuses of the monster race. They were high and mighty and were admired by countless people. But now, they were kneeling on the ground and humiliating themselves. This was worse than killing them. Everyone knew that Xia Wufeng and Xue Mutian were done for. Their confidence had been completely destroyed by Lin Feng. Once a cultivator's confidence was destroyed, how could they cultivate in the future? Many people could already see the scene of Xia Wufeng and Xue Mutian falling step by step from being geniuses to being destroyed. There were countless examples like this in the world of cultivators. How many geniuses didn't manage to grow up? There were many reasons for this, and many people lost their minds because of setbacks, which ruined their future. Kill you? No, it's meaningless to kill you. I'll make you kneel here for 3 days and 3 nights so that everyone can watch you. I'll also let the two of you serve as a warning to those who don't know what's good for them that I'm not someone they can offend. Lin Feng sneered. He kept changing his hands, and runes appeared one after another. These runes wrapped around Xue Mutian and Xia Wufeng's bodies, and together with the great suppression art, they were completely suppressed. Xia Wufeng and Xue Mutian roared like wild beasts. Their hearts were filled with humiliation. They couldn't bear the strange looks from the cultivators around them. They were so angry that they kept vomiting blood. Is he suffering from chi deviation? Once a cultivator suffers from chi deviation, their meridians will be twisted and their dantian will crack. In the future, their cultivation will drop greatly. I really didn't think that Xia Wufeng and Shui Mutian's endurance would be so weak. They've already suffered from chi deviation so quickly. These two have always been high and mighty, but now they're kneeling here and being watched by everyone. It's normal that they can't bear the humiliation. I don't think it's strange. Lin Feng is too strong. I think he's already a supreme genius. He can compete with the strongest cultivators in history. Yes, I think so too. Lin Feng, the three-headed Cobra clan, and the heaven-devouring demonic toad clan are probably going to fight to the death. I wonder what's going to happen next. Many cultivators discussed in low voices. At this time, Lin Feng and Jin Xingyuan had returned to the courtyard. Jin Xingyuan smiled bitterly. I didn't expect you're already so strong. Lin Feng smiled. Sooner or later you'll become stronger too, said Lin Feng. But the three-headed Cobra clan and the heaven-devouring demonic toad clan will definitely take revenge on you. Those two clans have been contacting the other clans. They want to steal Little Yu's imperial holy embryo. Since that's the case, I don't need to be polite to them. Besides, I'm alone. I'm like a bird flying in the sky and a fish swimming in the sea. Even if I have a falling out with those two clans, it doesn't matter. I want to leave, but they want to keep me here. Lin Feng said. Brother Feng, you're really free and easy. With you protecting the little princess, those two clans should restrain themselves, Jin Xingyuan said. While Lin Feng and Jin Xingyuan were talking, more and more cultivators gathered outside. They were all pointing at Xia Wufeng and Shui Mutian, who were kneeling on the ground. Their faces were distorted, and they kept roaring like wild beasts. It was as if they had gone crazy. Many strong cultivators from the three-headed Cobra clan and the heaven-devouring demonic toad clan arrived as well. When they saw Xia Wufeng and Shui Mutian, they all looked gloomy. That brat is bullying the heaven-devouring demonic toad clan. Does he really think that we won't dare kill him? Shui Dingqiu's voice was filled with killing intent. Xie Zichen's face was gloomy as well. That brat dares provoke our clans. Let's attack him and kill him. Xie Zichen's eyes were filled with killing intent. Elder Jin and the others walked over. According to the rules of Tianwu Continent, the older generation of cultivators can't get involved in the fights between the younger generation. Do you want to go against the rules of Tianwu Continent? Said Elder Jin indifferently. You! Xie Zichen and Shui Dingqiu's faces fell. There was indeed such a rule in Tianwu Continent. But in reality, many groups didn't follow the rules. Most people didn't care about such things. But since Elder Jin had said it in front of so many people, if they went against the rules of Tianwu Continent, it would be taboo. If they wanted to attack Lin Feng, they couldn't do it in the territory of the Great Rocks. They had to do it in private. It seems like Elder Jin wants to help an outsider against us, said Xie Zichen coldly. Shui Dingqiu nodded. Shui Dingqiu said ambiguously, That brat's identity is very suspicious. Elder Jin, don't be blinded by him. You might end up getting yourself involved. Elder Jin said indifferently. You don't need to worry about that, Elder Shui. After pausing for a moment, Elder Jin turned to Xie Zichen and said, As for the outsider you mentioned, I'm sorry, but in my opinion, Lin Feng is closer to our clan. Elder Jin had directly expressed his support for Lin Feng in front of so many people, making Xie Zichen lose face. Evidently, Elder Jin didn't care at all. Because of Little Moon, he hated the three-headed Cobra clan and the heaven-devouring demonic toad clan. Elder Jin is really bold. I admire you very much. I only hope that you won't regret your words in the future, Xie Zichen said coldly. You should worry about your own clan's disciples. Elder Jin replied with a cold smile. Humph. Xie Zichen harumphed coldly and looked at Xia Wufeng and Shui Mutian, who were kneeling on the ground. Xie Zichen's expression darkened. He naturally knew the consequences of going berserk. He also knew that Xia Wufeng's future was ruined. His killing intent towards Lin Feng grew even stronger. Xie Zichen's expression darkened. He turned to Shuedingqiu and said, "That brat used a formation to suppress them. Brother Shui, you're proficient in formations. Can you break this formation?" "Of course." Shuedingqiu nodded. His expression was also extremely gloomy. His killing intent towards Lin Feng was even stronger than Xie Zichen's. However, Shuedingqiu also knew that he should save Xie Wufeng and Shui Mutian first. Lin Feng could only wait for a good opportunity to deal with them. Shuedingqiu stepped forward and walked towards Xie Wufeng and Shui Mutian. Shuedingqiu is a heaven-rank formation master. Lin Feng wants to suppress Xie Wufeng and Shui Mutian for 3 days. Looks like he won't be able to do it. Yeah, a heaven-rank formation master. It should be quite easy for him to break Lin Feng's formation, right? Many cultivators discussed softly. Although Lin Feng was very strong, they didn't think highly of Lin Feng's formation skills. After all, a person's energy was limited. Lin Feng was so young. It was already very difficult for him to raise his cultivation. It was too difficult for him to raise his level as a formation master. Break. Shuedingqiu's hands were moving, talismans condensed and moved towards Lin Feng's deployment marks. Shuedingqiu wanted to use talismans to destroy Lin Feng's deployment marks. That was the simplest way to destroy deployment spells. It was as easy as crushing dry weeds. Normally, only high-level formation masters would use this method to break a low-level formation. Chapter 1063. When Shuedingqiu's palm landed, all kinds of runes were condensed and swept towards the runes arranged by Lin Feng. Its power was truly astonishing. Many people exclaimed in surprise. They were shocked by Shuedingqiu's mastery of spirit arrays. Buzz. At this moment, the runes arranged by Lin Feng had been activated. The runes seemed to have awakened as they twisted in the void. Then, like dragons, they swung their tails and whipped towards Shuedingqiu. Puff! The runes condensed by Shuedingqiu couldn't withstand the attack of Lin Feng's runes and were directly broken by the runes. Then, the runes arranged by Lin Feng continued to attack Shuedingqiu. Shuedingqiu's expression suddenly changed. He didn't expect the runes arranged by Lin Feng to be so powerful. The surrounding cultivators were even more dumbfounded. What was going on? How could the runes of Shuedingqiu, a heaven-stage spirit array master, be broken by the runes condensed by Lin Feng? Could it be that Lin Feng was an even more powerful spirit array master than Shuedingqiu? Thinking of this, many people's hearts were filled with shock. A person's energy was limited. Lin Feng's battle strength was already so tyrannical. If his attainments in spirit arrays were also so profound, wouldn't it be too heaven-defying? Thinking of this, many people felt that it was unreal. However, everything that was happening in front of them seemed to be telling them that it was all real. Lin Feng was indeed a more powerful spirit array master than Shuedingqiu. The runes swept over. Shuedingqiu's expression was gloomy as he sent out more than a dozen palm strikes to block the attacks of the runes. Bang! The two sides collided several times, and Shuedingqiu was actually forced back. Isn't the runes arranged by Lin Feng too powerful? Not only were the ordinary cultivators shocked, but even Elder Jean and the others were shocked. After Shuedingqiu was forced back, his face turned green and red. He couldn't help but grit his teeth. Shuedingqiu hated Lin Feng even more because Lin Feng's deployment marks had forced him to retreat and humiliated him. Extremely strong cultivators cared about their reputation a lot. Wasn't that the saying? Face is the most important thing in life? Was that what Shuedingqiu wanted to say? Lin Feng was furious. The runes arranged by this brat are so powerful? It seems that we need to work together, Shuedingqiu said. Shuedingqiu's lips twitched. He originally wanted to say that he could handle this matter by himself. But in the end, Shuedingqiu didn't say those words. That was because he really couldn't do it himself. Shuedingqiu said calmly, "All right, I'll let Brother Xie work with me. Brother Shui, you'll suppress those runes while I release the runes. I'll take the opportunity to break those runes. The runes are all linked together. As long as I break one rune, the rest will be easily broken. Xie Zichen nodded. All right, let's do it. After that, the two of them walked towards Shui Mutian and Xia Wufeng. Lin Feng's deployment is really powerful. I wonder if Shui Dingqiu and Xie Zichen can break it if they work together? I think they can. After all, they're so strong. It'll be much easier for them if they work together. I don't think they can break it. They're really strong, but many deployment spells are mysterious and unfathomable. You can't break them just because you're strong. You need to find the weak points of the deployment spells to break them. Lin Feng's deployment spells are very difficult to find. At least, with Shui Dingqiu's level, it'll be very difficult to find the weak points. Many people were discussing. Some thought that Shui Dingqiu and Xie Zichen could break the deployment spells, while others thought that they couldn't. At that moment, Shui Dingqiu and Xie Zichen arrived in front of Shui Mutian and Xia Wufeng. Xie Zichen attacked with his palm, attacking the deployment spells around Shui Mutian and Xia Wufeng. Swoosh! Those deployment spells seemed to have a life of their own. They instantly came to life and attacked Xie Zichen. Bang! Xie Zichen was pushed back by the force of the collision. Lines of runes spiraled in the void, wrapping around Xie Zichen as if they wanted to suppress him as well. What a strange formation pattern! Take my 10,000 arts immeasurable! Shouted Xie Zichen coldly. Then, he used a powerful divine ability. His hands formed a series of hand seals and a monstrous amount of spiritual energy surged out. Waves of destructive energy rippled out from his body. A vast ocean appeared in the sky. It was a vast ocean of spiritual energy, moving towards the deployment spells. The ocean of spiritual energy was about to suppress the deployment spells. However, the power of these dozen over-array patterns was truly formidable. They managed to pierce through the ocean of spiritual energy. Formation cracking runes. At that moment, Shui Dingqiu also attacked. He condensed over 1,000 runes. Those runes were called formation cracking runes. They were used to destroy the structure of a deployment spell. Crack, on the other hand, meant cracking. Of course, it meant a great deployment spell. Formation cracking meant breaking apart a great deployment spell. The formation cracking runes quickly flew towards the deployment spells that Lin Feng had set up. The runes attached themselves to the deployment spells that Lin Feng had set up. An astonishing amount of energy was released from the runes. These runes wanted to completely destroy the deployment spells that Lin Feng had set up. However, to everyone's surprise, the deployment spells that Lin Feng had set up released dark attribute energy that devoured the formation cracking runes. After devouring the formation cracking runes, the deployment spells that Lin Feng had set up became even more powerful. This is impossible. Shui Dingqiu couldn't accept what he was seeing and exclaimed. Devouring runes. This was the first time he had seen such a strange situation. As a heaven-rank spirit array master, he had never heard of such a thing before. Buzz. Suddenly, the deployment spells emitted an astonishing amount of energy. An illusory figure appeared. Look, it's Lin Feng's shadow! Many people were shocked. A mere low heaven-rank spirit array master wants to break my deployment spells? You're overestimating yourself. You'll be suppressed as well. The illusory figure raised his right hand and pressed down on the void. The great suppression spell condensed into the word, suppress, and moved towards the two of them. Suddenly, Shui Dingqiu and Xie Zichen felt as if they were being pressed down by an ancient mountain. They couldn't move. The deployment spells were already moving towards the two of them. Many people were shocked. Could it be that Shui Dingqiu and Xie Zichen were going to be suppressed as well? Break! At this crucial moment, the two of them displayed astonishing strength. They worked together to break Lin Feng's great suppression spell and quickly moved 100 meters away to avoid the deployment spells. I said that I'll suppress these two for 3 days, so I'll suppress them for 3 days. Today, I'm too lazy to bother with you two. If you recklessly try to break the deployment spell again, I'll suppress you two as well. Lin Feng's shadow stood in the air with his hands clasped behind his back. He looked indifferent. His words were sonorous and powerful. Who knew how many people's blood was boiling? Who dared to say that they could suppress two ancient giants? But Lin Feng dared to say that. Many people were looking at Lin Feng at this moment. Not only were they in awe, but they were also looking at him with admiration. Humph! Xue Dingqiu and Xie Zichen looked gloomy. They couldn't help but snort coldly. However, they didn't continue to attack. Obviously, they had been frightened by Lin Feng's methods and didn't dare to attack again. Many people were moved. They were amazed by Lin Feng's terrifying strength. His real body hadn't appeared yet. Only a dozen deployment spells had scared the two ancient giants. Many people even guessed that if Lin Feng's real body appeared, Xue Dingqiu and Xie Zichen wouldn't be able to defeat Lin Feng even if they joined forces. Chapter 1064. Xue Dingqiu and Xie Zichen were too embarrassed to stay any longer and quickly left. Xie Wufeng and Xue Mutian were still kneeling outside Lin Feng's courtyard. However, everyone knew that Lin Feng's grudge with the three-headed Cobra clan and the heaven-devouring demonic Toad clan was getting deeper and deeper. These two clans were not easy to deal with and would definitely not let this matter rest. Elder Jin came to Lin Feng's courtyard and saw Lin Feng and Jin Xingyuan enjoying tea. He shook his head helplessly and said, "It's already a mess outside and you're still so relaxed? You're really admirable." Lin Feng smiled and said, "Anyway, whether I show up or not, this grudge will only get deeper and deeper. I have nothing to worry about. These two clans have as many experts as the clouds. You should be careful," Elder Jin said. Lin Feng nodded. Elder Jin stayed with Lin Feng for a while before leaving. 3 days later, the restriction disappeared. Xie Wufeng and Xue Mutian were so angry that they fainted. They were carried away by cultivators from the three-headed Cobra clan and the heaven-devouring demonic Toad clan. The three-headed Cobra clan and the heaven-devouring demonic Toad clan seemed to have kept a low profile during this period. However, everyone knew that these two clans were definitely not people who would not retaliate after suffering a loss. They were definitely waiting for an opportunity. Not long after, news spread that the three-headed Cobra clan's evil dragon and the heaven-devouring demonic Toad clan's Shuezhang Xian were rushing to the Great Ping clan's territory. This caused a huge uproar. Even Jin Xingyuan and Long Yushi came to Lin Feng's courtyard to persuade Lin Feng to leave quickly. Evil Dragon and Shuezhang Xian were both supreme geniuses. Their strength was unfathomable. Even the experts of the older generation were not their match. Now that the two of them had come, it was very likely that they wanted to kill Lin Feng. Many people were paying attention to this matter. Lin Feng did not plan to leave. He was not afraid of anyone. Even if he was facing these supreme geniuses, he was not afraid. What's more, Lin Feng also wanted to find a few top heavens favorites to spar with and test his cultivation level. Princess Shuiyao also came to Lin Feng and said, "I know you won't leave, but you have to be careful of the evil dragon and Shuezhang Xian. They're both pure-blooded cultivators." A pure-blooded cultivator was a cultivator who had a 100% chance of awakening a special bloodline. Lin Feng nodded and said, "I'll be careful of those two." Princess Shuiyao replied, "There are some differences between pure-blooded human cultivators and pure-blooded demon cultivators. Pure-blooded demon cultivators can return to their ancestral roots." "Atavism? What does that mean?" Lin Feng asked. Princess Shuiyao replied, "Bloodline awakening will allow one to obtain a portion of one's ancestor's power." Normally, it refers to obtaining a portion of the first ancestor's power. After hearing Princess Shuiyao's explanation, Lin Feng revealed a shocked expression. This was because the first ancestors of the three-headed Cobra clan and the heaven-devouring demonic Toad clan were emperor-level existences. If one could obtain a portion of an emperor's power, then it would be too terrifying, said Lin Feng. "It seems like the evil dragon and Shuezhang Xian are much stronger than I thought," said Lin Feng. Princess Shuiyao nodded and said, "That's indeed the case. That's why we have to be careful." The next day, Lin Feng carried Little Moon to a beautiful garden in the Devil Race's territory to play. There were rockery and grotesque rocks everywhere, and there was a small bridge with flowing water. Little Moon happily chased after Bibi and the dragon rabbit. She was at the age when she was the most innocent. She was so innocent that it made people fall in love with her. There was a peach blossom garden that was about 100 acres in size. It was very beautiful, and Little Moon chased after Bibi and the dragon rabbit into the garden. Lin Feng smiled and followed them in. He hoped that Little Moon could continue to grow happily like this. Little Moon relied on Lin Feng a lot, and Lin Feng liked Little Moon a lot, so he wanted to protect her. There was an extremely old man in the garden. He was too old, and his body was stooped. There was an aura of death around him, as if he did not have much life left. Little girl, what's your name? The old monster was very kind and smiled at Little Moon. I'm Little Moon, said Little Moon in a clear voice. The old monster was slightly surprised, but then he stretched out his hand and rubbed Little Moon's head, saying, Go play. Goodbye, Grandpa. Little Moon politely waved at the old monster, then she skipped towards Bibi and the dragon rabbit, who were not too far away. People live for a lifetime, and plants have autumn. Even though they're blooming now, it's only for a short time. Soon, they'll wither, and in the end, it'll all be for naught. Looking at the blooming peach blossoms, the old monster sighed. Lin Feng walked over and said, If they've bloomed before, so what if they've withered? I don't care if it lasts forever. I only care about what I once had. The old monster looked at Lin Feng and frowned slightly, saying, You've worked hard all your life, but in the end, it'll all be for naught. Do you have no regrets? Lin Feng said, Our youth, as long as we work hard, so what if it'll all be for naught? Even if we die, we have no regrets. Humph, that's a crooked logic. Cultivators cultivate to go against the heavens and seize life. If we die, all our efforts will be for naught. It's better to enjoy life while we're young. The old monster retorted. To put it bluntly, the older a person is, the more afraid they are of death. You've probably already forgotten the reason you started cultivating, haven't you? Now you're worried every day that your life is coming to an end. If that's the case, then you'll be muddle-headed as you get older. Lin Feng said indifferently. Brat, you dare mock me like that? The old monster was so angry that his eyes widened. When he saw that the old monster was about to explode, Lin Feng didn't dare stay any longer. He ran off, shouting, I'm not mocking you. I'm just telling the truth. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared without a trace. After Lin Feng left, the old monster smiled and muttered to himself, It's been a long time since I've seen such an interesting young man. He's right. What's once bloomed, so what if it's withered? I don't care if it lasts forever. I only care about what I once had. Over the next few days, rumors spread throughout the demonic beasts' territory that experts from the 5 great demonic beast clans would arrive. The 5 great demonic beast clans were the Peacock Clan, the Heavenly Dragon Clan, the Nine-Tailed Fox Clan, the Blood Demon Clan, and the Snow Lady Clan. These 5 clans were all famous demonic beast clans. The Peacock Clan's holy leader had an incredible cultivation base and was one of the top experts on the Tianwu continent. The Heavenly Dragon Clan was a branch of the Dragon Clan and was extremely powerful. The Nine-Tailed Fox Clan was more mysterious, but they had always been powerful. The Snow Lady Clan lived in the snowy mountains of the Snow God Province. To the other powers, this clan was full of mysteries. The Blood Demon Clan was one of the more active clans on the Tianwu continent. The Blood Demon Saint of this clan was almost invincible on the Tianwu continent. Chapter 1065. The plaza was filled with people as they prepared to welcome the experts of the 5 great beast clans. Many people had come to watch. The 5 great beast clans could not be compared to ordinary beast clans. Any one of them was comparable to the human clan's archaic clans. Many people were discussing this matter. The arrival of the 5 great beast clans would decide the fate of the little princess. Many beast clans knew this very well. Thus, the atmosphere in the Great Pink Clan's territory had become somewhat strange. Lin Feng had also heard about this. He had only met the Peacock Clan's Saint Lord. Lin Feng felt that the Peacock Clan's Saint Lord was quite righteous. The Peacock Clan and the Great Ping Clan had a deep relationship, so Lin Feng felt that the Peacock Clan would stand on the Great Ping Clan's side. As for the other 4 Great Beast Clans' attitudes, no one knew. Even Lin Feng had come to the plaza, waiting for the arrival of the 5 Great Beast Clans' experts. Boom! An earth-shattering shockwave came from the distance. Demonic chi swept through the sky. An expert had arrived. It was a middle-aged man wearing a blood-red robe. His blood-red robe fluttered in the wind, and he had a pair of demonic blood-red eyes that made people's hearts palpitate. Shui Mayun of the Blood Demon Clan! Many people cried out. This expert was not simple. He was Saint Shui Yao's younger brother, and his cultivation was at the Great Fortune Realm. Boom! Another shockwave came from another direction. A silver-haired woman in white clothes walked over. Her face was covered by a veil, making it difficult to see her face. An expert from the Snow Lady Clan? Who is this expert? Someone asked. The Snow Lady Clan was too mysterious. It was said that there were no males in the Snow Lady Clan, only females. They were as beautiful as fairies, but their personalities were cold. Every Snow Lady would go out to train when they were 3,000 years old. After 1,000 years, they would go to the holy mountain to drink the holy water and give birth to their children. This was how the Snow Lady Clan passed on their ancestral line. Now that this Snow Lady had arrived, the entire world seemed to have turned into a world of ice. Many people were trembling from the cold. Is that Qian Piao Shui? It's said that she's a holy maiden of the Snow Lady Clan. Even though she's young, her cultivation is unfathomable. A cultivator said. One of the cultivators said. He seemed to know this woman. The Snow Lady Clan was different from other clans. Their clan's lifespan was extremely long. It was said that an ordinary Snow Lady could live up to 30,000 years. This race had a lifespan of 2,000 years before they reached adulthood, which was equivalent to 16 years of age for humans. Qian Piaoxue was now 3,000 years old, and it was time for him to come out and gain experience. Mr. Jean was there to welcome them. The Great Peking is in the hidden gate of life and death, so I will welcome you. Mr. Jean cupped his fists and said. These people didn't stay for long and quickly left. Not long after, they received news that in 3 days many groups of the monster race would be discussing the matter of the little princess, the holy fetus. Lin Feng and Jin Xingyuan took a walk in the garden. In the distance, Long Yushi was playing with Little Moon. Jin Xingyuan said, It seems like the top groups can't wait to get the holy fetus, but it won't be that easy. Lin Feng nodded and didn't say anything. On the way back, a group of people came from the distance. A young man in a golden robe was surrounded by people. When Jin Xingyuan saw him, his expression became gloomy. Who is he? Asked Lin Feng. The grandson of the Oversea Rock King, Jin Xingfei, said Jin Xingyuan. Saint was Jin Xingyuan's seniority. The young cultivator was called Jin Xingfei, so he was obviously from the same generation as Jin Xingyuan. The Oversea Rock King was one of the overlords of the Oversea world. He was also a member of the Golden-Winged Great Ping Clan. However, he wasn't from the same lineage as Jin Xingyuan. It was like how humans weren't related to each other even though they were all humans. The same was true for the monster race. Even though they were all Golden-Winged Great Ping Clans, they weren't related by blood. Isn't this Jin Xingyuan? We haven't seen each other in 3 years. Jin Xingfei walked over and smiled disdainfully at Jin Xingyuan. Chapter 1066. Why are you here? I don't welcome you here. Jin Xingyuan's expression was ugly and gloomy. Lin Feng's heart shook. It seemed that Jin Xingyuan and Jin Xingfei had some sort of conflict. Jin Xingfei said, Xingyuan, we're brothers of the same generation. Why are you treating me like an outsider? There doesn't seem to be any relationship between us. Why do you have to pretend? said Jin Xingyuan coldly. Jin Xingfei smiled. Xingyuan, it seems that you are still jealous of me. Back then, I was only joking. You are too narrow-minded. Haha. Jin Xingyuan's expression darkened. I don't like people who think too highly of themselves. A cold light flashed in Jin Xingfei's eyes, but he quickly suppressed it. At that moment, a young beast cultivator next to Jin Xingfei asked, Brother Jin, what's the matter? Tell us. Yeah, Brother Jin, we're curious about everything, said another. Jin Xingfei smiled. It's nothing. 3 years ago, during a gathering, I mentioned something that happened 800 years ago. You all know that my grandfather, the heavenly Pink King, was an overlord in the overseas world. Back then, Jin Xingyuan's uncle, the great Pink King, was still very young. He was about 17 or 18 years old, or even younger. He went to my grandfather's cave and begged for pointers. He knelt for 3 days and 3 nights, but my grandfather didn't give him any pointers. Yeah, Jin Xingyuan, what's there to be angry about? The heavenly Pink King is always in closed-door cultivation. When did he have the time to teach your uncle? If you're angry because of that, you're too narrow-minded. Even your uncle doesn't hate you, right? Said someone immediately. Jin Xingyuan's expression darkened. You believe everything Jin Xingfei says? Are you all his dogs? The beast cultivator's expressions became unsightly. Jin Xingyuan, who are you calling a dog? You have to be clear. Everyone knows who's a dog. Do you still need me to explain? Jin Xingyuan smiled coldly. Dogs should behave themselves. If you're talking nonsense in someone else's house, as the owner, I don't mind throwing your dogs out. You. The beast cultivator's expressions became gloomy. However, they didn't say anything else. If Jin Xingyuan chased them out, they could only blame themselves for being unlucky. If they were chased out, they would be humiliated. Xingyuan, you need to be broad-minded. If you're so broad-minded, I'm afraid you'll encounter a lot of obstacles on the path of cultivation in the future. It'll be very difficult for you to progress. Said Jin Xingyuan smiled. Jin Xingfei was making fun of Jin Xingyuan. Lin Feng frowned. He had the impression that the great Rock King had become a disciple 800 years ago. There's no need for you to worry. Jin Xingyuan snorted. Jin Xingfei curled his lip disdainfully and didn't say anything else. He looked at Little Moon, who was in Lin Feng's arms. This must be the little princess. She's so cute. Jin Xingfei reached out to pinch Little Moon's cheeks. Lin Feng raised his hand to stop him. He didn't like Jin Xingfei, so he wouldn't let him touch Little Moon. After being blocked, Jin Xingfei's face suddenly turned gloomy. He said coldly, Boy, you dare to block me? Who do you think you are? How dare you stop me? Lin Feng said indifferently. Did I stop you? Actually, I saw a fly buzzing nonstop. I didn't think you'd reach out your hand. Are you trying to drive the fly away too? Pfft. Long Yushi burst into laughter. Lin Feng was mocking Jin Xingfei for being a fly. How could Jin Xingfei not understand? Jin Xingyuan's expression became unsightly. Little Moon said innocently. Big brother, Little Moon also heard the buzzing of the fly. When they heard Little Moon's innocent voice, Lin Feng, Jin Xingyuan, and Long Yushi smiled. Jin Xingfei and the others' expressions darkened even more. Jin Xingfei said with a fake smile, The little princess is so cute. No wonder so many people came to visit her. It seems like everyone likes her. Really? Little Moon was delighted. She was still young, so she couldn't tell if someone was lying. Of course. Jin Xingfei smiled sinisterly. Lin Feng frowned. Jin Xingfei's words clearly had a hidden meaning. Those beasts didn't like Little Moon. They were the Holy Beast Emperor who wanted Little Moon. Let's go, said Jin Xingyuan. Lin Feng nodded. He was about to leave with Long Yushi and Jin Xingyuan. Jin Xingfei smiled sinisterly. You're that Lin Feng, right? I'll remember you. There was a hint of a threat in his words. Lin Feng pursed his lips. Many people remember me. Who do you think you are? Haha, are you trying to make me laugh to death? Long Yushi laughed in an unladylike manner. She had always been so lively. Jin Shitian laughed as well. Even the beasts around Jin Xingfei couldn't help but laugh. Only Jin Xingfei's mouth twitched when he heard Lin Feng's mocking words. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Lin Feng ignored him. He carried Little Moon and left with Long Yushi and Jin Xingyuan. When they returned, Long Yushi asked curiously, "That Jin Xingfei talked about something that happened 800 years ago. It can't be that simple, right?" Jin Xingyuan said. 800 years ago, my uncle was only 16 years old. He had already displayed incredible talent. He shone during the battle of the geniuses of the 3,000 prefectures. After the battle, my uncle went to Tianping King's cave to learn. Tianping King was the strongest cultivator of the Great Ping clan, so he had many disciples. My uncle knelt there for 3 days and 3 nights. Tianping King came out and kicked my uncle out. Tianping King was extremely talented. Why was he kicked out? Lin Feng didn't understand. Because his talent was too good, said Jin Xingyuan. Lin Feng and Long Yushi remained silent. Maybe Tianping King was jealous of Tianping King's talent. My uncle didn't say much. After he left, the celestial Ping King spread the news that my uncle was arrogant and disrespectful to him. That's why he was kicked out of the celestial Ping King's residence. Jin Xingyuan's expression darkened. Tianping King probably has evil intentions. Lin Feng shook his head. As a member of the Great Ping clan, Tianping King's actions were naturally despicable. However, Tianping King was a powerful cultivator who shook the Tianwu continent, while Tianping King was only a teenager. Naturally, no one believed that Tianping King was innocent. Everyone chose to believe Tianping King, so Tianping King was cursed for being disrespectful to his elders. Tianping King didn't come out to explain himself. It seemed that Tianping King's words were even more true. 300 years ago, my uncle was surrounded and injured during his reincarnation tribulation. According to the cultivators who attacked him, it's very likely that Tianping King was one of them, said Jin Xingyuan through gritted teeth. Lin Feng and Long Yushi's expressions changed. If that was really the case, then they would have an irreconcilable relationship. Jin Xingyuan said angrily. Unfortunately, Elder Jin only found some clues and couldn't confirm it. However, I know that Tianping King was definitely involved. He's always been jealous of my uncle and naturally doesn't want to see my uncle become the strongest cultivator of the Great Ping clan. Jin Xingyuan talked about many things from back then. No wonder Jin Xingyuan was so jealous of the heavenly Ping King's bloodline. The grudges between them were too complicated. The next day, Lin Feng received news that there would be a gathering of young geniuses tomorrow night. This gathering would gather many of the top geniuses of the Demon Clan. Lin Feng was also invited.